Chapter 234. Because I miss you, too. Yenjika stopped running again. Her eyelashes trembled and her vision blurred. Too many emotions were bursting and blooming in her heart. She couldn't wait to turn around, run under the streetlight, and throw herself into the arms of the person she missed so much. Glancing at her grandpa in front of her, she bit her lip with her white and neat teeth to suppress the throbbing. She typed on the keyboard and sent a message to Lu Cheng. "Idiot, you almost made me cry." Phew. She exhaled and calmed down a little. Then, she said, "That's right. I'm inviting you to do morning exercises with me. You can't reject me." A smile blossomed on Lu Cheng's face as he replied briefly, "Okay." He put his phone in his pocket, carried his sling bag, and started jogging. He followed his girlfriend from a distance and turned to the right. He followed her through the shady road and followed her to a place with good greenery. "Grandpa, I'm going to continue practicing martial arts over there." Yenjika greeted her grandpa cheerfully. She was unusually happy and looking forward to it. Her grandfather knew that there were many martial arts styles that could not be seen by outsiders when practicing. A few days ago, his granddaughter had also gone to a secluded place nearby. Without suspecting anything, she waved her hand and joined the group of old men practicing Tai Chi she stretched out with her acquaintances. Lu Cheng saw this and immediately quickened his pace. He followed the slender figure into a small path and turned into a place that looked like a botanical garden. Zhengke County was just a wall away. After running into another fork, Yenjika slowed down and stopped under a fresh tree. She pursed her lips and looked deeply at her boyfriend who was getting closer and closer. Lu Cheng was about to hug her when he found that she was looking to the side with her hands behind her back. She pouted and said, "Stand there and don't move. Close your eyes. Just close them." Lu Cheng couldn't resist Yenjika's coquetry. He smiled and said, "Okay, okay." He stood there and closed his eyes, listening to the familiar soft footsteps walking towards him. "Am I being teased this time?" Yenjika stopped for a moment after she got close. Her eyes were like water as she looked at Lu Cheng's face. "He looks a little tired. He probably didn't sleep well last night, his beard was sticking out. He must have not had the time to shave. His hair was a little messy. He must not have had a chance to shower last night." The girl's heart grew softer and softer. She took half a step forward, wrapped her arms around his waist, and buried her face in his shoulder. She felt the familiar smell, the familiar body temperature, and the familiar heartbeat. She felt the longing and frustration of the past few days melt away little by little. "Don't open your eyes." She sensed Lu Cheng's attempt to open his eyes to return her hug, so she scolded him in a tender voice. "All right." Lu Cheng smiled and closed his eyes, showing that he was looking forward to it. Yenjika's eyes rippled. She raised her hands and put them around Lu Cheng's neck. Tiptoeing, she kissed the corner of Lu Cheng's mouth and the stubble on his head. The corners of his eyes, his face, his forehead. In this aspect, she was a good student of Lu Cheng. She kissed him gently one after another. Finally, she closed her eyes. With a face full of righteousness, shyness, and joy, she kissed Lu Cheng's lips. She clumsily traced the outline of his lips and timidly stuck out her tongue. Lu Cheng hugged her tightly and kissed her back passionately. He wished he could be their flesh and blood. After a long time, Yenjika panted and broke away from her boyfriend's embrace. She looked to the side with a drunken look. Her cheeks were red, and she pretended to be indifferent. "This is my morning kiss for you. Little boy, you need to train well." "Yes, Sister Yen," Lu Cheng answered comfortably. He hung his satchel on the tree branch and got into position. Yenjika tilted her head and asked in confusion, "Don't you drink the medicine soup?" "I drank it long ago. I've already finished one round of training. Don't you see that I'm wearing a martial arts suit?" Lu Cheng smiled and pointed at his body. "I have to admit that the nearby public toilets are pretty clean." "That's right, I'm also stupid. I must be infected by Cheng." Yenjika glanced at Lu Qing. She didn't want to admit that she was too excited to pay attention to details. They didn't waste time on each other, nor did they neglect their training. They each took a side and practiced their own content. From time to time, the sound of punches and kicks could be heard. During this process, they would occasionally meet eyes and communicate with each other. It was extremely sweet and beautiful. Time flew and it was 7:30 in the blink of an eye. According to her usual habits, Yenjika should have left at this time to meet up with her grandpa and go home for breakfast. However, she dilly-dallied and didn't want to say goodbye. "Qing, how's the effect of your tempering these past few days?" She looked up and asked with a faint smile. Lu Qing stopped his posture and hugged the girl into his arms. "You're so dirty. You smell like sweat." Dirty Qing who didn't take a shower. Yenjika punched his chest lightly but didn't struggle. She chose to snuggle up to him quietly. Lu Qing chuckled and then replied, "The effect is pretty good. After only 2 or 3 days, I feel like I'm slowly getting into the details. I was thinking, the seniors who started practicing martial arts at the beginning definitely didn't have the help of the medicinal decoction. How did they do it? The seniors who started practicing martial arts at the beginning must be the kind with overflowing talent. They didn't need the help of medicine soup to get into the details. With their experience, we juniors can get twice the result with half the effort. There's no need to take the wrong path," Yenjika said with a smile. At this moment, she actually felt that Lu Cheng's sweat didn't smell bad. Instead, she liked it inexplicably. "Oh no, I must be sick. My nose is broken." Her face unconsciously flushed. She quickly asked, "What about the comprehension of the withdrawal? I haven't gained anything yet. I feel like I can't find the direction." Lu Qing sighed slightly. "The more I practice, the faster and smoother my muscles and fascia become. It's like there were a lot of impurities that were hindering my strength. Now they are being eliminated little by little. But this has nothing to do with the meaning of the withdrawal." His fake master only gave him the words, "Human body big Dan, round and bright." He couldn't understand anything from it. Yenjika pursed her lips and smiled. "Call me Coach Yen. I'll explain it to you. For this matter, I have specifically consulted several relatives. Coach Yen, please do me a favor and give me some guidance. I can't repay your kindness, so I can only devote myself to you." Lu Qing joked in a relaxed manner. "Then I'll have to think about it." Yenjika rolled her eyes at him and thought for a while. "I've asked my brother and other uncles, aunts, and sisters. After combining their words, I found a common point. Well, that's will." "Will?" Lu Qing chewed on these 2 words. Withdraw is not only the withdrawal of force, but also the withdrawal of qi and blood, the withdrawal of momentum and spirit. Maybe you have to find your own path and martial arts will to be able to control all of these. Yenjika guessed seriously. Their words are very different, but they are in line with the records I read in the ancient books. Dan's stage varies from person to person. You can't imitate others. Well, it's probably because everyone is unique and their wills are also different. Lu Qing listened thoughtfully. He thought of something his master said, that he had to walk the path of martial arts mixed with cultivation. That was why his master couldn't give him too detailed guidance. "But I don't know anything about cultivation, my path of martial arts. What will my martial arts will be like? It seems that I have to start from the Jin Dan." "Back then, did your cousin find his martial arts will because he was injured?" Lu Qing asked casually. There were not many people in the world who could communicate effectively with his brother-in-law, and his girlfriend was one of them. "Yes. My cousin said that he relied on martial arts and hard work, so he couldn't really see his own will. When he was injured and couldn't practice martial arts for a long time, he felt empty all of a sudden. Then he slowly found and recognized his own martial arts will. But Qing, you can't learn from him. Everyone is different." Before Yenjika finished her words, she heard her phone ring. She took it out and looked at it. She shrank her neck, pursed her lips, and chose to answer the call. Grandpa. I'm more focused on practicing today. Okay, I'll be back soon. She hung up the phone and looked at Lu Cheng. She said reluctantly, I have to go back for breakfast. What are you going to do next? I've seen you and hugged you, so I have to go home. You won't have a chance to come out even if you stay here. And you should be back in Shoshan by tomorrow at the latest, right? Lu Cheng smiled and breathed in Yenjika's scent. His original plan was to ask her to go to her uncle, aunt, and other relatives' houses and have a short date with him on the way. But since they had already done morning exercises together, there was no need to trouble her anymore. Yenjika stared at Lu Cheng quietly with her dark eyes. After a few seconds, she bit her lip and said, Then wait for me on the other side of the road in the neighborhood. Why? You want to treat me to your grandpa's breakfast? Lu Cheng guessed. Yenjika pursed her lips and smiled. Yes. Wait for me. She left Lu Cheng's arms, turned around, and jogged out to meet her grandpa. Then they went home. While helping to set the table, she took a deep breath and plucked up her courage. She showed her dimples and smiled sweetly. Grandpa, Grandma, I'll go back by car later. Song Li is looking for me. I want to go back to Shoshan with Cheng. Why are you leaving so suddenly? Is it urgent? Aren't your parents coming to pick you up tonight or tomorrow? Yenjika's grandma asked in surprise. Yes, I won't wait for them. I'm old enough to go to and from Songqing by myself. What's there to be afraid of? Grandma, Grandpa, you can come to Shoshan and stay for a few days. Yenjika showed her talent in acting spoiled and coaxed the two old people into agreeing to her request. Hurrah! She cheered quietly and rushed into the room. She quickly took a shower, changed her clothes, and packed her luggage. She left the clothes that had not been dried and would come back later. She moved quickly and filled her suitcase. Then she hurried out of the door. You little girl, you should at least have breakfast before you leave. Her grandma stopped her. Yenjika's eyes flashed a few times, and she nodded weakly. Okay. She ate a few mouthfuls without tasting, forced a steamed bun into her mouth and drank a glass of milk. Eat well. Grandpa, Grandma, I'm leaving. She clapped her hands like a primary school student. Then she put on her shoes, dragged her luggage, and ran out of the door to the entrance of the neighborhood. I'll call Empress Dowager later. In the clanging sound of the pulley, her long hair fluttered in the wind. She couldn't wait to leave. Lu Cheng waited patiently under the shade of the opposite tree, looking at the entrance of the neighborhood. Suddenly he saw Yenjika come out with her long hair fluttering in the wind, dragging that familiar suitcase. She looked like a little fairy who came to the human world from heaven. He was a little stunned. What's going on? Yenjika looked around and crossed the road to him. Looking at his stupefied face, she pursed her lips and smiled. Idiot, why are you in a daze? Help me carry my suitcase and call a taxi. You're going back with me? Lu Cheng woke up and was surprised. He quickly took the suitcase. Yenjika turned her head and looked to the side. She didn't answer directly. She waved her hand and hummed. Let's go. I'll treat you to breakfast. On the minibus from Jinkai to Shoshan, the two leaned against each other and didn't talk for a while. They just smiled and looked at each other's interlocked fingers and the rings that were shining again. At this time, the minibus started to play music. Flowers bloom in spring, taking away the sadness of winter. Listen to me. Hand in hand, go with me, and create a happy life. Yesterday was too late. Tomorrow will be a pity. Will you marry me today? Chapter 235. Yenjika and Lu Cheng went back to Shoshan. Yenjika and Lu Cheng, who had reported to Empress Dowager and Song Li, threw their suitcases and bags into the storage area of a shopping mall. Then they had a good time. They watched a movie, went to the bookstore, went shopping, played with dolls, and ate delicious food. In the end, Yenjika, who was in high spirits, even went to the musical merry-go-round for children twice. Lu Qing laughed and seized the opportunity to take many pictures of her at that time. Because there was no private occasion, the two of them didn't have much to be intimate with each other. They just finished the whole movie in the cinema. But even so, Lu Qing didn't feel any regret. He was equally happy, equally satisfied, and equally full of joy and happiness. Of course, at his age, he would feel that it would be better if there was a chance to be intimate. When they were talking about going to Old Lu barbecue for dinner, Yanjika received a call from Empress Dowager. After a while, Yanjika put away her phone and wrinkled her nose. Empress Dowager asked me to go home for dinner. She seems to know that I'm with you, but she didn't say anything. In fact, with Empress Dowager's intelligence and experience, she could guess who I was rushing back to Shushan for. Empress Dowager is experienced. She must know that wherever there is oppression, there will be resistance. He could roughly guess what Empress Dowager was thinking. She wouldn't forbid him from dating Ku, but she didn't want them to be together all the time. In that case, the weather would be dry, and the clothes would be thin. Young men and women would be full of vigor, and if they weren't careful, it would trigger lightning and fire. Of course, this was based on the fact that Empress Dowager didn't know me. In fact, she didn't need to worry. I would respect Yanjika and our future and control myself. Well, I have to go back to please Empress Dowager and massage her shoulders and back. Yanjika could feel her mother's indulgence and sighed half-jokingly. Then she blinked and looked at Lu Qing with her bright eyes. Will you send me Zongzi tomorrow? Of course. Lu Qing answered without hesitation. Yanjika laughed and rolled her eyes. It's a pity that I can't eat it tomorrow. Ah. Lu Qing was confused. Then why did you ask? Hee, teasing Qing is so fun. Yanjika said with a smile. The Empress Dowager said that she would take me to a Yunshui restaurant after the morning exercise. They used to open a restaurant near the hospital where my father worked. It was full of my memories. Unfortunately, they moved away and no one knew where they went. It was only recently discovered by the Empress Dowager. Can I meet you by chance? Lu Qing chuckled. Sure, as long as you're not afraid to face the Empress Dowager. Yanjika replied with a smile. Thinking of the Empress Dowager's aura, Lu Qing wiped his non-existent cold sweat and said, well, the son-in-law is always afraid of the mother-in-law. Yanjika chuckled. Well, in fact, I don't know the exact location of that shop. After we go there tomorrow, I will take you there. Okay. Lu Qing thought for a while and said, then I'll send you some Zongzi the day after tomorrow. You don't have to. Yanjika smiled and said, Empress Dowager will be on a business trip tomorrow night. She'll be busy with a big project and won't be back for a few days. We can do morning exercises together and eat Zongzi together. Okay. Lu Qing was suddenly full of expectations. After taking back the luggage, he called an online taxi and sent Yanjika to the entrance of her community. It was a villa community located opposite the lake behind the commercial center. It was a quiet community in the midst of chaos. After saying goodbye reluctantly, Lu Qing remembered to call his mother. Mom, I'll come back for dinner later. He emphasized the key point. Qi Fang sneered. Why didn't you say so earlier? I'm almost done with the steaming. There's no share for you. Ah. Lu Qing was stunned and deeply understood what it meant to be a biological mother. Feeling Lu Qing's sluggishness, Qi Fang laughed and said, Fei Fei wants to eat old yellow sliced chicken. You go buy one and get yourself a meal. Okay. Lu Qing elongated his tone to show his happiness. Sliced chicken was a special delicacy of Shushan. When Lu Qing was a child, when there were not many resources, it was a luxury for ordinary people to eat a chicken. Therefore, sliced chicken was born. The stall owner would cook the chicken and soak it in the chili oil soup. He would sell the chicken on the street and charge money by the slice. Even greedy children could eat 2 or 3 slices with the money they saved. It was one of Lu Qing's good memories when he was a child. Nowadays, as long as one was not poor, it was easy to eat a chicken once in a while. Thus, sliced chicken gradually disappeared from the stage of history. Only the Old Yellow restaurant, because of its exquisite ingredients, attractive taste, and appetizing spicy taste, became a regular stall business, selling cold dishes and braised dishes. After buying the delicacies for Yenjika, Lu Qing took them back home. Qi Fang, who had been waiting for him, announced that dinner was ready. "What have you been doing these past few days?" Qi Fang asked when she was half full. "Didn't I tell you already? I went to work part-time in the martial arts club of my classmate's master." Lu Qing poured some sliced chicken and mixed it with rice. Lu Jisheng put down his chopsticks and took a sip of Ningxue Daku original proof liquor. "You started work so early? How many days a week?" "Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 to 12 in the morning. But most of the time, I also stayed in the martial arts club and borrowed their strength training room to practice. Or I could give guidance to the inner disciples." Lu Qing told his parents that he might not be at home often. Most of the time, he would go on dates. "Not bad. It's very easy." Qi Fang breathed a sigh of relief. She was afraid that her son would be too tired to make money. Then, half out of curiosity and half out of habit, she asked, "In that case, how much do they give you a month?" Questions about money always aroused people's desire to understand. Not only Lu Jisheng looked over, but also Qi Yunfei, who was chewing the chicken, turned her head and looked at her cousin with interest. Lu Qing hesitated and said frankly, "They give me more than 50,000 yuan for 2 months. This did not include the individual guidance fee." Although only Qin Rui could make an appointment, he believed that after he improved, other inner disciples and aspiring martial arts students could not help but give it a try. 50,000, 10,000? Qi Fang's chopsticks paused in the air. Lu Jisheng forgot to put the food into his mouth. Only Qi Yunfei, who had heard Ding Yanba mention it before, was mentally prepared. "Yes." Lu Qing nodded. Qi Fang blurted out, "Qing, have you been tricked? You only work 3 mornings a week and they give you more than 50,000 yuan for 2 months? With her son's identity, how could there be such a good thing in the world? He was not the kind of martial artist who could make thunder and fire on TV. How is that possible? Gushan Martial Arts School has been running for many years." Qi Yunfei retorted. She had done the research. Lu Qing smiled and said, "Mom, don't worry. You can ask someone." "Well, how much can a top professional 9th pin fighter earn a month? Although Gushan Martial Arts School takes care of me, it is not an exaggeration." "Really?" Qi Fang's face was still full of doubt. This was such a good thing that it was hard to believe. Lu Jisheng put down the wine glass and said calmly, "Don't make a fuss. I heard that professional martial artists earn a good income. Qing, have you signed the contract? You can't be careless these days." This was a lesson he had learned through blood and tears. When he went out to work, he was introduced by acquaintances at first. They were too embarrassed to mention the contract. As a result, he was owed a lot of wages. Some of them were still unpaid. "Yes, Dad. Don't worry. They won't dare to cheat me on this kind of thing." Lu Qing answered with a smile. Not to mention his master, Justin Shoshan, Director Xing could make Gushan Martial Arts School suffer. Moreover, he could follow the rules of Jianghu and challenge the school alone and smash the sign. "Is the contract with you? Let me see." Lu Jisheng was still a little worried. Lu Qing smiled and shook his head. He went back to the room, found the contract and handed it to his father. Is this the Lu family's version of once bitten twice shy? When this thought came to his mind, Lu Qing not only felt funny, but also felt sorry for his father. "In the future, you won't have to work so hard anymore." Lu Jisheng looked carefully and handed it to Qi Fang, who had been leaning over. He sighed with relief and said, "Not bad, not bad. You've grown up and become an adult. Sai, your father's annual salary plus bonus and benefits only amounts to a little more than 80,000 yuan. And this is a good year. You can be my father for half a year and 2 months. He was full of feelings and rambled on. Chi Fong keenly interrupted, what's a one-to-one tuition fee? It's a one-to-one tuition fee. Lu Cheng said concisely. He was afraid that his mother wouldn't understand if he said it too professionally. When it came to tuition, Chi Fong understood. Is it based on times or hours? 800 yuan per hour. Lu Cheng said honestly. Oh, 800 yuan per hour. That's 6,400 yuan per day for 8 hours. That's more than 190,000 yuan per month. Cheng, you're promising. Chi Fong beamed. Lu Cheng looked at her blankly and said, Mom, you're so good at math. After he finished explaining, first of all, it was impossible for so many people to ask for tuition, and second of all, there were other things, such as normal martial arts classes. Chi Fong regretfully expressed that she understood. Then she talked about Lu Cheng's cousin, Lu Yanwei, saying that he had been quiet for half a year and wanted to start a business again. After dinner, Lu Cheng's parents went out for a walk. Chi Yunfei jumped in front of Lu Cheng and said with starry eyes, Brother Lu Cheng, you're so awesome. Get to the point. Lu Cheng's eyes were like torches. Hey, my birthday is 3 months away. Since you're so rich, shouldn't you give me a meaningful gift? Chi Yunfei said flatteringly. Lu Cheng smiled slightly. It depends on your performance. If you're addicted to love and don't have the heart to study, you know. Chi Yunfei nodded and sighed. I'm so envious that you can make so much money in college. I can only rely on my mom and dad. I have to be frugal. It's good that you know how to be envious. Study hard so that you can make money in the future and have the hope of financial independence. Lu Cheng used the new words he learned. Chi Yunfei helplessly glanced at him. Brother Lu Cheng, you're getting more and more old-fashioned. You take the opportunity to educate people. Lu Cheng thought for a while and sighed with a smile. Maybe my mentality has changed. He was no longer an inexperienced teenager, but a man who wanted to take on some things, shoulder some responsibilities, and protect a girl. Chi Yunfei looked at him seriously and smiled sweetly after a long time. Brother Lu Cheng, you looked very handsome just now. If you weren't my brother, I might like you. Lu Cheng clicked his tongue. If you weren't my sister, hey, I wouldn't even look at you. After that, he looked up and laughed. He picked up his pajamas and other things and rushed to take a shower. Chi Yunfei was stunned on the spot. After dozens of seconds, she gnashed her teeth and said, so angry. The next morning, Lu Cheng drank the medicine and ran to the park. Today, he wanted to test the prototype of absolute reaction that inexplicably appeared before. He tried to grasp the characteristics of cultivation through Jindan. He wanted to see how to integrate it into martial arts and open up his own path. Chapter 236. Phew. At the end of his morning exercise, Lu Cheng exhaled a mouthful of foul air and shook his head with a wry smile. To him, this was something he had expected. How could one be able to find the right direction and achieve success on the first try? In fact, ever since Lu Cheng found out that the Jindan in his body came from the lost martial arts sect, cultivation, he had put in a lot of effort to gather information about it. However, the information he could find on the internet was too mysterious and hard to believe. For example, in a small cultivation fan exchange forum, there was a guy named Thompson, who had developed hysteria due to his practice and almost became a cripple. He only recovered after a long time. Without a corresponding martial arts reference, Lu Cheng's attempt to grasp the characteristics of cultivation through the Jindan was like a blind man groping for an elephant. It was difficult for him to gain anything of value. At most, he could deepen his understanding of the concepts of frost, Virokana, and starry sky. Naturally, there was no way for him to integrate the knowledge of cultivation and open up his own path. Sigh, it's been several months since Master's old friend obtained the Longhu Immortal's legacy. Why hasn't he achieved anything? Lu Cheng complained in his heart. He packed up his things and prepared to go home for breakfast. If he still couldn't grasp the characteristics of cultivation, then he decided to use the simplest, crudest, and most effective method. That was to completely follow the orthodox martial arts path and treat the Jin Dan as a supernatural energy fountain. Through time and time again, he would completely absorb it and strengthen his own supernatural abilities of frost and flame. As for the combination of supernatural abilities and martial arts, there were too many references. The predecessor planted the tree, and the successor reaped the shade. It was half the work but twice the effect. If there's no other way, then so be it. Jin Dan, who knows what it is? Lu Cheng's thoughts fluctuated and he sighed slightly. At this moment, he suddenly had an absurd association based purely on the literal meaning of the word. Jin Dan, Danqi state, they are all Dan. Could it be that there are some similarities? As soon as this whimsical idea came into his mind, it was like a flood breaking through a dam. It was endless and couldn't be stopped no matter how hard he tried. The specific meaning of the Danqi state is that the strength of the whole body is transparent and smooth, intertwining with the spirit, qi, and blood. It's like a Dan. Every punch and kick can mobilize the strength of the whole body to the greatest extent and can be controlled with extreme precision. There's absolute reaction, so it's called the human body Big Dan. The most powerful of all is force concentration, which condenses the strength, qi, blood, and spirit into a point and unleash. Master's description, it's round and bright. Jin Dan, I still don't know what it is, but from my senses and observations over the past few months, I've discovered that it perfectly matches the description of round and bright. It balances itself and forms a universe of its own. It's like a supernatural ability, a material product formed by the condensation of physical invulnerability or a shield, intent, and spirit. It has the duality of matter and spirit. Can I imitate the Jin Dan or use it as a fulcrum to complete my force concentration? With the experience of force concentration, I can find and condense my own martial arts will and rely on it to repeat the process. Can I become a Real Dan state? Lu Cheng thought aimlessly. Gradually, he had a general direction and was filled with the passion to try again. This time, his train of thought didn't involve the characteristics of cultivation. It was purely imitating the operating rules of Jin Dan. Well, I'll try again tomorrow morning. Failure is the mother of success. With his longing resolved and his feelings nourished, Lu Cheng also had a direction to improve his martial arts. When he stood in front of Zhang Qiufan, Yao Ruiwei, and the other students again, he was really glowing. He was in a good mood from inside out. Wu Ting smiled and asked, Coach Lu, did something good happen to you yesterday? Yeah. Lu Cheng answered with a smile. Then will you go easy on me today? I'm so tired after the last training. My whole body is sore. Wu Ting seized the opportunity. Yeah, my legs were shaking when I walked yesterday. Yao Ruiwei, the little fatty, quickly agreed. Lu Cheng maintained his smile and answered, that's why you don't train often. You'll get used to it after more training. Don't worry, I'll be worth every penny you pay. Ah. Wu Ting, Zhang Qiufan, and the others all let out disappointed sounds. Then, under Lu Cheng's guidance, they began to calm down. When it came to the formal training, Lu Cheng realized how difficult it was to teach the half-grown kids. After a little more than a day, 8 out of 10 of the basic stances they had learned were not up to standard. They had to be explained and corrected again. The only two who were still okay were Li Lei and Wu Ting, who could barely remember the content of the previous lesson. Fortunately, Lu Cheng knew that they only wanted to strengthen their bodies. As long as they could maintain the amount of training, they would pass. He didn't have high expectations, so his mood wasn't affected. After correcting them one by one, he stood at the side with his hands behind his back. He concentrated on tightening and compressing his muscles, creating a moderate amount of vibration. Together with the erosion of the medicine, he polished his muscles and fascia. Suddenly, he heard hurried footsteps and a commotion at the door. Turning his head, he saw Qin Rui's excited and uneasy face. What's wrong? Lu Cheng asked, puzzled. Qin Rui lowered his voice and said, "The selection for the preliminaries is about to be finalized. Today, Chairman Wei will bring the person who has already been selected to visit the martial arts school. Whether or not I'll be selected to participate in the special training will depend on later. The selection of the team must be approved by the chief." "Huh, who's the person?" "You'll be fine if you perform well," Lu Qing asked curiously. Qin Rui answered in distress, "A professional ninth pin fighter named Li Tianming. He's a disciple of a family sect in our city. He's very talented and got a ninth pin certificate at the age of 20. He went to Gaofen to develop. Their sect has a good relationship with Mingwei. In our martial arts school, other than Senior Dai, it's hard to say who will be selected. Isn't there still Chairman Wei? He won't make it too obvious." Lu Qing comforted him. "If you make a breakthrough in your still stance this month and perform well in the youth tournament, Chairman Wei won't see it." "Yes. At the end of the day, strength is the most important." Qin Rui nodded vigorously. At this moment, the noise approached. Wei Renjie, with his hair slicked back, walked over with Chu Weikai, Dai Linfeng, and the others. Beside him was a young martial artist in his 20s. His face was thin, his eyes were small and sharp, and his qi and blood were so vigorous that they almost materialized. He looked a little complacent. Wei Renjie glanced at the VIP class in front of him and smiled. "Tingting, are you practicing martial arts here?" Wu Ting stopped what she was doing and smiled obediently. "Uncle Wei, my dad likes to be busy. He's worried that I'll learn bad things during the holidays, so he sent me here." Lu Cheng was stunned. He didn't expect Wu Ting's family to have a good relationship with Wei Renjie. But then again, according to Qin Rui, the VIP class wasn't a place that could be registered with money. It's good to practice martial arts. It strengthens your body. How is it? How do you feel? Wei Renjie asked kindly. Wu Ting nodded quickly. Pretty good. Our coach is awesome. Your coach? Wei Renjie turned his head and looked at Lu Cheng. After a moment of shock, he recalled the past and smiled. You're Lu Cheng, right? Yes. Chairman, you still remember me? Lu Cheng replied with a smile. At this moment, Li Tianming's eyes also looked over. His pupils suddenly shrank. He didn't expect to see a young martial artist with vigorous qi and blood in the Gushan martial arts school. Ordinary people like Wei Renjie wouldn't think much of it. At most, they would think that Lu Cheng looked very energetic and tough. But in the eyes of martial artists with similar experiences, it was obvious what it meant. At this stage of the body refining state, the strength of martial artists was like a firefly in the night. It was so bright and so flamboyant that it couldn't be hidden. What does this mean? Li Tianming looked at Chu Weikai in surprise. He saw that this old man with deep wrinkles was also looking at him. His smile was amiable and his eyes were meaningful. How can I not remember? My idea for special training came from your opinion. Wei Renjie laughed. Is it summer vacation? Why are you here as a coach? Part-time job. Lu Cheng answered honestly. Good. It's good to be self-sufficient. Wei Renjie didn't say much. He walked around the VIP class area and walked towards the stairs surrounded by people. When the area was almost out of sight, Li Tianming couldn't help but look back at Lu Cheng. How could he not be cautious when he found a martial artist at the peak of the body refining state in a martial arts school that he didn't have a good relationship with? But Lu Cheng didn't care at all. He didn't even think about competing for the preliminaries. It's a pity that Chairman Wei isn't a martial artist. He can't see how strong you are. Qin Rui sighed regretfully. He strode forward and caught up with the group. After the tour, the few people with the highest status sat down in the office on the third floor. Li Tianming glanced at the summer martial arts class registration list on the table. He pretended to pick it up casually and flipped through it. VIP Class 3, Coach Lu Cheng, Professional 9th Pin, Lu Cheng. Chairman Wei called him Lu Cheng just now. Li Tianming put down the list and took out his phone while listening to Wei Renjie's long speech. A professional ninth pin martial artist could more or less find the competition videos online. Chu Weikai glanced at his actions and smiled faintly. Lu Cheng, professional ninth pin. After typing these words, Li Tianming put his phone on silent mode and browsed through the information. He randomly clicked on a video. At the beginning, his expression was still normal. But as he watched, his expression changed and his body couldn't help but tremble. Wei Renjie ended his speech and looked at Li Tianming with a smile. Tianming, what do you think after watching the young talents of Shushan? Do you have the confidence to take on the challenge of the preliminaries? He was inviting Li Tianming. Li Tianming suddenly woke up and looked at Chu Weikai subconsciously. He saw the smile on Chu Weikai's face. Li Tianming took a deep breath and answered stiffly, Chairman, I don't have the confidence, huh? Wei Renjie was stunned. What kind of answer is this? I was just asking out of habit. Li Tianming forced a smile and said, I've thought about it seriously. I'm still too weak to win glory for Shushan. Chairman, I'm sorry to let you down. If I agreed to be the leader, Gushan Martial Arts School would definitely find an excuse to challenge me, and I really don't have the confidence to face that guy just now. Wei Renjie was still calm. He maintained his composure and asked seriously, Are you sure? Yes. Li Tianming answered with a red face. After the exchange, he left Gushan Martial Arts School as if he had escaped from a tiger's den. Looking at Li Tianming's panicked back, Lu Qing pulled Qin Rui and asked thoughtfully, Chairman Wei, why did you decide to visit today? My master invited me. Qin Rui didn't think there was anything wrong with it. Lu Qing laughed and shook his head. He didn't say anything else. Master, this trick is really useful. After watching Wei Renjie leave, Dai Linfeng saw that there was no one around and said excitedly, In the future, if we meet any ignorant professional ninth pin who wants to be the leader, we can invite them to visit. Lu Qing doesn't want to do that, but others don't know. Chu Weikai sighed and said, This method can only be used once. Do you think Lu Qing is stupid? Can't he see through it? We can use his prestige a little and think about our relationship with him. He will turn a blind eye and let it go with a smile. If we do it again and again, what does he think he is? Dai Linfeng nodded and said sincerely, Master, I understand. Yes, we have to seize the opportunity and try to get the professional ninth pin who is close to us. Sigh, only an experienced person like Master can accurately grasp the limits of the previous method. Chapter 237. Lu Cheng, who had nothing to do in the afternoon, went home early. He was chatting with Yan Zhika on his phone while watching variety shows on the sofa. When night fell, he found that his mother was not home. The dinner they had planned was still in his imagination. Hello, Mom, where have you been? Lu Cheng, the left-behind child, took the initiative to call. Qi Fang was surprised. Didn't I tell you? No. Lu Cheng answered blankly. Qi Fang laughed dryly. Oh, I'm used to you studying outside. Used to what? Used to not having a son like me? Lu Cheng covered his face and sighed. Qi Fang continued, Fei Fei has been playing in our house for a few days. Your aunt urged her to go back. I thought it would be a waste if I didn't use it since I helped someone take over for a few days. So, I decided to send her back. I don't want to embarrass your aunt if anything happens on the way back. Cheng, you and your dad can settle it by yourselves tonight. I can sleep in my room tonight? Lu Cheng was delighted. He asked, Mom, when are you coming back? The day after tomorrow. I'll go to your grandpa's house tomorrow and get some homegrown vegetables. Qi Fang started nagging Lu Cheng to come over and spend time with his grandparents on weekends when he was not at the martial arts school. After listening to his mother's nagging, Lu Cheng immediately sent a message to Yan Zhika, saying that he was abandoned by his mother and had no dinner. Yan Zhika replied with a few pictures of the food she was enjoying without sympathy. Don't mention it. I'll help you eat. After a while, Lu Jisheng opened the door and entered the house. He saw Lu Qing sitting on the sofa with the lights off and the TV off, playing with his phone. His face was lit up by the flickering light of the screen. You young people can't live without your phones. Lu Cheng's father shook his head and sighed. He turned on the lights and the whole house was lit up. Dad, Mom went to Aunt's house. We'll settle the dinner by ourselves. Lu Cheng looked up with his phone in hand. Lu Jisheng pushed his gold-rimmed glasses. I know. I'll cook. As he spoke, his voice suddenly came to a halt. Lu Cheng was stunned. He took a deep breath and said, how about we go to Grandpa's house? Okay. Lu Jisheng made a prompt decision, as if he had been waiting for this suggestion for a long time. The father and son did not need to pack up. They called Lu Debong and left immediately. On the way, they stopped to buy soy sauce duck and sliced chicken as extra dishes. When he entered his grandfather's house, Lu Qing suddenly felt that the atmosphere was not right, because there were guests. A man and two women were sitting in the living room. They were chatting with Lu Debong, Lu Jiqiang, and Lu Yanwei, while Grandma and second aunt were busy preparing dinner in the kitchen. Jisheng, you're here. Come and take a look. Do you still remember Zijuan from old Zhao's family? He's doing well now. He's the deputy director of the police station on Feixia Road. Lu Debong smiled and pointed at the only man among the guests. Zijuan, I remember you. When we were young, we always played together. Every time we played a game of cops and thieves, he always wanted to be the police. Now, he is really a police officer. Lu Jisheng was pleasantly surprised to see his childhood playmate. Old Zhao's family had been neighbors for a long time. Zhao Zijuan was in his 40s. He had a square face, short eyebrows, and heavy eye bags. He stood up and patted Lu Jisheng. Jisheng, you still look like a scholar. Hee hee. Back then, whenever I was naughty, my father would use you as an example to lecture me. He said that he would be satisfied if I was half as good as you, other people's children. Lu Qing silently summarized for Zhao Zijuan. The other two were ladies, but he didn't pay much attention to them. He just glanced around and found a girl in her early 20s with half of her hair in a bun. She looked quiet and uneasy. His cousin, Lu Yanwei, didn't have his usual eloquence and seemed to be restless. Well, it's not a meeting between old neighbors. It's a blind date. Lu Qing suddenly understood. He walked to Lu Yanwei with interest and patted him on the shoulder. This was the first time he had encountered a blind date. It seemed that Lu Cheng's ambition scared second uncle and the others, so they sped up the blind date. They came directly to him without making any arrangements. Lu Yanwei looked at his cousin, sadly, and did not dare to say anything. This is my wife, Huang Kun. This is my maid, Zhao Qian. She is a language teacher in No. 3 primary school. Is that your son? After catching up, Zhao Zijuan introduced his family. Lu Jisheng smiled. Yes, Lu Cheng. He is still studying. Is he in university? Where do I read it? Zhao Zijuan asked casually. Songqing University, Lu Jisheng answered proudly. Very good. He is like you in this aspect. Zhao Zijuan did not ask more about Lu Qing because he was not the main character today. After they sat down, they continued to chat. Their topics were focused on Lu Yanwei's current job, Zhao Qian's situation, and Lu Jiqiang's previous canteen contract. Lu Qing could tell that his second uncle had been repeatedly reminded that he would not use a second sentence if he could answer with one sentence, so as to avoid accidentally saying something hurtful. They talked from before dinner until dinner. Lu Qing did not say a word and played the role of a normal person eating meat, chicken, duck, pork ribs, and eggplant diligently. The male and female protagonists were robbed of the limelight by their parents, so they could only answer questions in silence. Lu Qing could feel the awkwardness between them even with his toes. Well, he tested absolute reaction this morning and found that there was no such thing. Was it by accident that he caught the thief? That's not right. That feeling was very obvious. I was in a deep sleep at that time, but I was awake during the test. Was that the difference? Lu Cheng, who was lost in his thoughts, found the atmosphere a little cold and subtle. It seemed that the Zhao family was not satisfied with Lu Yanwei's situation. After dinner, Zhao Zijuan did not stay long. He said that he had something to do and left with Huang Kun and Zhao Qian. He did not let Lu Jiqiang and Lu Yanwei see him off. After the guests left, the Lu family fell into a short and depressing silence. After a few minutes, Lu Cheng's second aunt, Wang Lily, hit Lu Yanwei and said with a sobbing voice, 2 or 3 years ago, when our family was still strong, would old Zhao not like you? Wei, people have to accept their fate. Some people are destined to be rich and some are destined to live a stable life. Don't worry about it. Work hard and make progress. Lu Yanwei pursed his lips tightly and said nothing. He stood there stubbornly, his round face full of gloom. Well, don't talk about it. Let him do whatever he wants. We can't afford it anyway. Lu Jiqiang shouted. His hair seemed to be getting whiter and whiter. If I had known this would happen, I wouldn't have come for dinner. Lu Qing felt a headache. He looked at his father and found that he felt the same. Even an honest official can't solve a family matter. It was his second uncle's problem, so he couldn't get involved. Don't talk about it. You can do whatever you want. The old master waved his hand and sighed. He walked back to the sofa and sat down, watching TV in silence. Lu Cheng's grandmother and second aunt started to clean up the table. Lu Jiqiang sat on the single sofa. Lu Yanwei wanted to say something but couldn't. He walked back to his room gloomily. Dad, I'm going to talk to my brother, Lu Cheng said in a low voice. Go, talk to him. Lu Jisheng knew that his son had matured quickly in the past half year, so he nodded with relief. Lu Cheng knocked on the door and entered the dark room. He sat on the computer chair and looked at Lu Yanwei who was lying on the bed. Brother, what do you want to do this time? He had heard him mention it before. Lu Yanwei said sullenly, I used to run a restaurant. I saw that the takeout business in Xiushan is booming, so I want to open a restaurant that doesn't have a shop. It won't cost too much. Speaking of this, he opened his mouth. He sat up and said in pain and confusion, Cheng, do you know what's the most painful thing for a person? It's that I can't see any hope. I go to work on time every day and earn 2,000 or 3,000 yuan a month. I won't starve to death, but I can't see any hope. Today is the same as yesterday, and tomorrow will be the same. I want a house, no. I want a car, no. I don't know when I can earn enough money with this little salary. Should I rely on my parents? I don't want to suffer, but I don't want to be like this for the rest of my life. Lu Qing listened quietly and thought that if he was in this situation, he would be in the same pain and struggle. But you can't just do it casually, right? You have to do some research and see the prospects before you do it. Lu Qing said in another way. Lu Yanwei was stunned and said, I think it can be done. Many people in our company order takeout. You can't just rely on your feelings. Lu Qing complained and took out his phone to ask his life coach, Coach Yen. Yen Jika replied with both hands supporting her chin, I haven't done this kind of research. Since your cousin wants to do it, he must do a good job of positioning and investigation. For example, where is the takeout area he is targeting, how many restaurants there are, and whether they are popular. Lu Qing translated her suggestions into his own words and told his cousin. Lu Yanwei, who only had high school education, was stunned. In the end, he said, Cheng, you know this? I don't know, but some of my classmates do. Lu Qing answered proudly. Coach Yen is awesome. Well, I'll figure out these things first. Lu Yanwei suddenly found that he had no idea at all. He had taken it for granted before. Ningshui, Qi Yan's house. Qi Yunfei was lying on the bed, watching a video leisurely with her legs crossed. Sister, what are you watching? Chen Xiaoxiao walked in while drying her hair. Qi Yunfei laughed and said, Brother Lu Cheng's competition video, super handsome. Brother Lu Cheng? Competition video? Qin Xiaoxiao was confused. See for yourself. Qi Yunfei pushed the tablet in front of her. I'm drying my hair. Qin Xiaoxiao muttered. She stopped what she was doing and looked over. A few minutes later, she said in surprise, Is this really Brother Lu Cheng? How powerful and awe-inspiring. Yes. Qi Yunfei held her chin and said happily, I'm almost becoming a brother complex. If Ding Yanba is half as good as Brother Lu Cheng, I'll be satisfied. Her eyes were shining as she imagined the future. After leaving Grandpa's house, they took a car back to the entrance of the community. Lu Jisheng and Lu Cheng were about to enter when they suddenly saw a notice posted in a conspicuous place. Police Department Class A wanted order. Lu Jisheng read the title. Lu Cheng looked at the following content. 3 cases of family extermination. Zhan Shuming, on the run, male, professional 7th pin. Chapter 238. Professional 7th pin? Lu Cheng narrowed his eyes and looked up at the photo in the wanted poster. He found that Zhan Shuming had a baby face, a gentle face, and a gentle temperament. He didn't have the viciousness and cruelty of the murderer of the 3 cases of family extermination. A professional 7th pin fighter at the age of 32. Although he was not a god's favored son and had no hope of reaching the physical invulnerability stage, he still had the possibility of reaching the inhuman stage. He belonged to the upper middle class in the martial arts world. No matter which big city he was in, he could live a comfortable life. Why would he take the risk and become a fugitive? Out of anger? A hero breaking the law with martial arts? Practicing a unique skill and suffering from Qigong deviation? Many thoughts flashed through Lu Cheng's mind, but they quickly went back to normal and disappeared without a trace. For a fight at this level, he couldn't reach it even if he jumped up and stretched out his hand. There was no need to waste his energy. He just needed to remind his relatives and friends to keep it a secret and try to call the police later. Otherwise, they wouldn't even know how they died. Is a professional 7th pin fighter very powerful? Lu Jisheng asked. He was very clear about the difference between professional martial artists and amateur martial artists. He also knew how terrifying martial artists in the upper 3 ranks were. However, for the rest of the ranks, he had no idea how big the gap between each rank was. Very powerful. It's not a problem for him to beat 2 or 3 of me. Lu Cheng explained to his dad with himself as a reference. If you see him, just ignore it and call the police when he's far away. I'm not stupid. If it were another fugitive of amateur 7th pin, I wouldn't dare to call the police. Lu Jisheng laughed and answered casually. You're right. I'm thinking too much. Lu Cheng shook his head and smiled. He didn't say more and walked home with his dad. After he took a shower and changed the sheets, he lay down and felt the softness and comfort. Suddenly, he received a call from Yan Jika. Ku, what's wrong? He didn't know what happened and asked nervously. We were chatting just now. Yan Jika enjoyed the pure concern from the heart. She smiled and said, Can't I call you for nothing? Lu Cheng relaxed and chuckled. Did you miss me? Humph, you've become thick-skinned again. Yan Jika pouted playfully. Did you see the arrest warrant? Yes, I did. What's the problem? Lu Cheng's heart skipped a beat. Ku specifically called to tell him about this matter. She definitely didn't just want to gossip. Yan Jika stopped smiling and said, according to reliable sources, he fled to a nearby area. That's why there are so many wanted posters. Lu Cheng said thoughtfully. What's the matter with Zhan Shuming? Why were there 3 cases of family extermination? It's said to be revenge. Yan Jika chose her words carefully. His parents were also martial artists. In his early years, they were forced to death by a local dance stage mighty one for some unknown reason. After he became successful in martial arts, he always wanted to seek justice. However, the Mighty One was an elder of a province with deep political and business connections. He even had some connections with a physical invulnerability master. The case was delayed again and again with no progress. Many people looked for him, hoping that he could reconcile. Turn hostility into friendship. Lu Qing could hear the indignation and disdain in his girlfriend's tone. He agreed with her and said, "It's easy for those people to say that." So Zhang Shuming decided to take the risk? Yes, Qing, don't laugh at me. I just put myself in his shoes and thought that if my parents were forced to death like this, I definitely wouldn't give up. Just like the idiom, I can't live under the same sky. Yan Zhike sighed and said. Zhang Shuming pretended to accept reality and softened his attitude. When the Mighty One let down his guard, he came in the middle of the night and killed his enemy's entire family of 11. Then he went all the way south, hoping to escape to the war-torn areas. However, the police department took this case very seriously and specially sent a high-ranked Dan-stage Mighty One with supernatural tracking ability and a criminal investigation expert to lead the arrest. They blocked his escape routes several times and almost caught him last week. Is this only one case of family extermination? Lu Qing asked sharply. Yan Zhike took a deep breath and said, maybe because he was in a desperate situation and couldn't see any hope of escaping, Zhang Shuming had a mental breakdown and became crazy. During this time, he committed 2 cases of family extermination in a row, targeting martial artist families with deep political and business connections. Moreover, the victims were all innocent people who had nothing to do with him. At first, I sympathized with him and admired him, thinking that he had the style of an ancient hero. Sigh, vent anger. Vent? The closer he was to death, the crazier he became? Lu Qing said worriedly, Ku, your family should be careful too. His girlfriend's family was definitely a martial artist family with deep political and business connections, and Zhang Shuming had recently appeared in the surrounding areas. That's why I called you. My mom went on a business trip as planned, but she was worried that something might happen at home, so she asked Aunt Lu and her family to stay with us temporarily. Yan Zhike said pitifully, Aunt Lu will accompany me for my morning exercise tomorrow. I can't go with you and eat zongzi with you. This was what they had agreed on, and he was looking forward to it. However, it was all ruined by Zhang Shuming. 'Cause Aunt Lu was a professional 7th pin Mighty One. Lu Qing was relieved and said, safety is the most important thing. I just feel sorry for that family of Zongzi. They missed the favor of the little fairy several times in a row. Pfft. Yan Zhike was amused and her mood improved a lot. Her voice became gentle and she said in a low voice, then would you like to send Zongzi to the little fairy tomorrow? Of course. Lu Qing answered without hesitation. Disgusting. Yan Zhike laughed and scolded him. She said sweetly, Qing, in fact, I have to cancel tomorrow's arrangement and postpone many things. I don't know when I can do it. Well, and then? Lu Qing was a little confused. What did Ku want to say? And then? Yan Zhike said shyly, idiot. What I want to say is. She suddenly lowered her voice and scratched Lu Qing's ear. I do miss you, beep. She hung up the phone as soon as she finished speaking, as if she was afraid that Lu Qing would turn into Sadako and go through the phone screen. Beep, beep, beep. Lu Qing smiled foolishly and recalled it again and again. He hated that he didn't have the habit of recording the call. At 5:00 the next day, Lu Qing went to Shoshan No. 1 middle school to practice, so that he could buy zongzi and go to Backwater Lake later. He completed the daily practice step by step and the internal vibration training with the medicinal soup. In the end, he set aside half an hour to imitate the operation pattern of the Jindan. Lu Qing calmed down and sensed the expansion and contraction of the bright nebula. Based on his previous experience, he gradually had a grasp of the operation pattern of the Jindan. Spin. The key word was spin. In general terms, the two contradictory forces of ice and fire repelled each other and then transformed each other. Finally, they reached a delicate balance and kept spinning around a certain point. The reaction was the slow rotation of the vast nebula. In detail, the ice crystal rotated around the flame, and the flame rotated around the core of the nebula formed by the interaction. Layer by layer, it was like the movement of celestial bodies. Once the rotation stopped, the Jindan would definitely collapse with a violent explosion and completely collapse. Spin. To put it simply, let the chi, blood, spirit, and force rotate around a certain point to form a balanced and restrained big Dan of the human body and complete the withdrawal attempt. This point should be my martial arts will. Lu Qing thought and had a rough idea. When I haven't found and formed my own martial arts will, I can use the Jindan as a fulcrum to experiment and see if it works. After analyzing that it wouldn't be too dangerous, Lu Qing calmed down and got into a good posture. Then he closed his eyes and concentrated his spirit and chi. He focused all his spirit on the Jindan to stimulate the chi and blood, and then used the chi and blood to guide the force. When his spirit synchronized with the operation of the Jindan, his whole body suddenly shook and he felt that the rotation of the Jindan suddenly accelerated. Boom! His chi, blood, and force were stimulated, and then his spirit suddenly shrank inwards as if it was circling. His body strangely showed a sense of emptiness and stillness. The shrinkage was only temporary, and the force that was far from pure and penetrating quickly bounced back and spurted out, driving Lu Qing to punch forward. Bam! The air seemed to explode, and the pure force of the body stirred up a gust of wind. Lu Qing opened his eyes and looked at his fist, but didn't think about anything. Instead, he looked at the path on the left. At the moment when his spirit shrank, he had a strange feeling. Without relying on his ears or eyes, he felt that someone was coming from that direction. This was very similar to the experience of the absolute reaction when he caught the thief. A few seconds later, Lu Qing heard footsteps. After a while, he saw a middle school student on a morning jog pass by. Someone is really coming. Lu Qing took a breath and murmured to himself. As for the absolute reaction from before, he more or less understood what was going on. When he was awake, many distracting thoughts interfered with the operation of the Jindan, so it couldn't exert its own characteristics. When he fell into deep sleep and had fewer thoughts, it showed something similar to the absolute reaction, or even more powerful, similar to the ice mirror. He used to sleep in the dormitory, at home, and beside Yenjika. He didn't encounter any malicious things, so he didn't feel anything in his dreams until he encountered the thief. As for the feeling just now, it should be the result of the combination of this characteristic and the withdraw ability of the Dan stage. Lu Qing shook his head. He felt that after the withdraw ability, his body was sore and his head was swollen. He had to rely on the hot flow of the Jindan to calm his tiredness. Breaking through to the Dan stage is not something that can be done in a day or two. Even if I use the Jindan as a cheat to achieve the withdraw ability, I can't really rely on it to achieve the withdraw ability before the force in my body is completely refined and the exuberant chi and blood turns inward. Lu Qing warmed up his muscles and bones, feeling a little happy and a little sad. Well, I can't always rely on the Jindan to cheat. I can't forget my original purpose. I'm using this experience again and again to understand and master the withdraw ability. Then I'll use the martial arts will as a fulcrum to master the unique force concentration. As for the martial arts will, I'm still at a loss. Lu Qing exhaled deeply, feeling that the Dan stage was still a long way to go. Succeed? I've just started. Chapter 239. After a few minutes of rest, Lu Qing jogged to the front gate of Shushan No. 1 Middle School. Following the usual path, he found the stall selling zongzi with a cart, against the direction of the third-year students who were still in class. 3 white zongzi, 2 spicy ones and 1 brown sugar one. Okay. The stall owner was a middle-aged man with a limp on his right foot. He had a bright smile, but apparently he didn't recognize Lu Qing as the high school student who used to patronize him. Lu Qing took out his phone, took a picture, and sent it to Yenjika. I'm working on it. I'm looking forward to it. Yenjika replied. I'm waiting for you, Lu Qing smiled. After the stall owner finished, he paid the money and ran to Backwater Lake with the zongzi in his hand. He didn't take a taxi. It was now the morning rush hour. In recent years, Shoshan's economic development had been good. Many citizens had bought cars, and the old municipal roads could no longer meet this situation. Naturally, traffic jams were inevitable. That was why Chin Roy said that many roads in Shoshan were expanding, and many places were being demolished. Under such conditions, at such a time, and such a distance, Lu Qing felt that the number 11 bus was faster than the car because he had been sprinting at full speed. He ran a few kilometers like he was running 100 meters. Training in fun. When he arrived at the outskirts of the villa area, he stopped and sent a message to Yenjika with a straight face. "Hello, your exclusive delivery boy has arrived." Beep. Yenjika didn't want to miss the message, so she didn't take a shower after the morning exercise. Now she picked up her phone and looked at it. When she saw this, she couldn't help but burst into laughter. Her face was like a flower as she quickly typed on the keyboard. "Good." After replying, she raised her head and looked at Lu Xiaolin, who was sipping hot porridge. She pursed her lips and gathered her courage. "Aunt Lu, Qing sent me something. I'll go and get it." Aunt Lu knew about her, so she had to show her sincerity. Yenjika's father was on duty last night and hadn't come home yet. Lu Xiaolin's husband went to the company after breakfast. Their child stayed in bed and planned to have lunch. There were only two of them in the living room and dining room. "Cheng." Lu Xiaolin put down the hot porridge and asked in confusion. Yenjika blushed. "He's Lu Cheng, my boyfriend." This was the first time she had mentioned Lu Cheng as her boyfriend in front of the elders. At first, she felt a little guilty, but as she spoke, she felt a kind of certainty and joy. Lu Xiaolin came to herself and stared at Yenjika for a few seconds. She found that Yenjika didn't flinch or dodge. "I'll follow you." Lu Xiaolin nodded slowly and added, "It'll be fine after a few days." The current Ku really resembled the youngest uncle back then. The only difference was that one looked like a stubborn girl, while the other was soft on the outside but tough on the inside. At that time, she was still a child and didn't really understand. But now, as a wife and mother, she understood very well. "Okay." Yenjika nodded obediently. "Thank you, Aunt Lu." The two of them went out of the gate of the community and crossed the road. Lu Xiaolin stayed a few steps away and did not approach. Because of the elders' stares, Lu Cheng and Yenjika felt a lot of pressure and were quite uncomfortable. Lu Cheng resisted the urge to hug the girl and hold her hand. He handed the dumplings to her and tried to ignore Lu Xiaolin's existence. "Little fairy, please sign here." "Little fairy." Yenjika looked back at Lu Xiaolin with a guilty conscience. Her white cheeks immediately turned red. If Aunt Lu heard this kind of self-boasting title, how could she raise her head in front of her in the future? Lu Xiaolin stood there quietly and observed the surroundings. There was no abnormality in her expression. Phew. Yenjika breathed a sigh of relief and took the dumplings. She said in a low voice, "It's so disgusting." What if Aunt Lu heard it? It doesn't matter if she heard it. I'm telling the truth. Lu Cheng took the opportunity to sweet talk. Yenjika's eyes flashed and she rolled her eyes at him. Then she became emotional and said reluctantly, "I should go back. I'll be fine after a few days." Just as she finished speaking, she suddenly heard a low thunder sound in Lu Cheng's body. "How can you do internal vibration training like this?" Yenjika blurted out. She found Lu Cheng's face turned red and was quite embarrassed. She suddenly realized. She covered her mouth and laughed, leaning forward and backward. "Are you hungry?" So hungry that it was like thunder. "Yes." Lu Cheng answered with embarrassment. He was so focused on sending the dumplings earlier that he forgot about his share. Yenjika suppressed her laughter and said with half anger and half happiness, "When you buy the dumplings, don't you eat some first?" My brain short-circuited and I forgot. Lu Cheng said with a hollow laugh. "Forgot." Yenjika repeated these two words in a low voice. She looked at the dumplings in her hand and her eyes were full of tenderness. She secretly looked behind and found Aunt Lu was looking around and didn't pay attention to her and Lu Cheng. She took out a pair of disposable chopsticks, broke a dumplings, mixed some seasonings, picked up a piece and put it in front of her boyfriend's mouth. She hummed, "Here, sister will give you a bite." While speaking, she turned her head and looked at the street tree next to them. Lu Cheng was surprised and happy. He put the dumplings in his mouth and wolfed them down. He said happily, "Delicious. Don't talk. Focus on eating." Yenjika blushed and quickly fed him. Fortunately, Aunt Lu was not looking at them now. After feeding him quickly, she pursed her lips and looked at Lu Cheng softly. She waved her hand and turned to Lu Xiaolin. Lu Cheng wanted to pull her back, but he had to force himself to watch her and Aunt Lu walking into the neighborhood. At this moment, Yenjika was so guilty that she didn't dare to look at Lu Xiaolin. She was talking about all kinds of irrelevant things. Why was I so bold just now? In broad daylight, in front of so many people, I took the initiative to feed Cheng. Lu Xiaolin listened with a smile and answered a few words from time to time. She didn't seem to notice that they were whispering sweet nothings. Well, it seems that Aunt Lu respects privacy and deliberately ignored our interaction. Yenjika felt relieved and said happily, "Aunt Lu, I'm going to take a shower." Lu Xiaolin nodded and sat on the chair in the bedroom. She asked with confusion, "Your parents are not here. Why don't you just invite him in? It's not good to do that in public. That look just now. That look." Yenjika covered her face and rushed into the bathroom. "I'm an ostrich. I'm an ostrich." When the sound of water splashing could be heard, Lu Xiaolin revealed a faint smile and whispered to herself, "Little fairy." Young people nowadays. At 8:00 in the evening, Lu Cheng was chatting with Yenjika and browsing the forum when he suddenly received a call from Director Xing. "Hello, Uncle Xing?" His heart skipped a beat as he vaguely had an idea. Is it about Wang Su's case tomorrow afternoon or Zhang Shuming's case? Xing Chengwu sighed and went straight to the point. "Lu, Uncle Xing is here to ask for your help." "What is it? Just tell me." Lu Cheng always remembered other people's kindness. "Have you seen the arrest warrant?" Director Xing asked. "It's about Zhang Shuming." "But how can I help?" Lu Cheng answered frankly, "Yes, I've seen it and asked people. I know what he did and what he did." Director Xing, who knew his master's background, was not surprised. He laughed and said, "Just now someone called the police and said they saw Zhang Shuming on the street of the bar. We verified it and found that it's true. The high-ranked dance stage expert and the other members of the task force will arrive at midnight at the earliest. Uncle Xing, do you mind if I tell you the truth? I really want to help you, but Zhang Shuming is of professional 7th pin. I don't even know how to reach Dan's stage. I can't help you even if I want to. I'll be a burden to you." Lu Cheng was shocked and said quickly. Zhang Shuming had appeared in Shushan. After a year of experience and growth, Lu Cheng didn't know how to refuse people anymore. He would help if he could, but if he couldn't, he knew his place and dared to say it. Director Xing laughed and said, "Don't worry, Lu. How can I let you deal with Zhang Shuming? If something were to happen, how am I supposed to face your master?" "Then what do you mean?" Lu Cheng calmed down. Zhang Shuming's mental state is very dangerous now. I can foresee that he will continue to deal with the martial arts families with deep political and business connections. He will become crazier and crazier. But he is also very rational. Once the task force arrives, he won't stay for long. Director Xing said seriously, "We've compiled a list of people who need protection. I'll take the lead and handle this matter myself. Lu, you know, in a small place like ours, there are limited masters. Even if the police force is stronger than the martial arts circle, it's only a few times stronger. According to the list, I've even invited 2 seniors, but the number of masters is still not enough. You want me to join? How do I protect them?" Lu Qing asked in confusion. Xing Qinggu nodded and said, divide into groups and enter these people's houses to protect them. You'll be in charge of one group. Don't worry, I'll send 4 amateur first-pin police officers who are good at shooting to cooperate with you. I'll also approve the use of large-caliber guns and warning equipment. If you really meet Zhang Shuming, as long as you show your ability to not be defeated by him in 3 to 5 moves, he will definitely retreat. I'll be in charge of the support group and wait in the middle. If there's any movement, I'll be there immediately. Lu, I'll tell you the truth. If the situation is really dangerous, you don't need to care about others and retreat by yourself. With your strength, Zhang Shuming won't waste time chasing you. 4 amateur first-pin police officers who were good at shooting and had large-caliber guns were a big threat to professional 7th pin. Of course, the premise was that they could react in time. Lu Qing thought and asked in confusion, Uncle Xing, why don't you gather these people for protection? Everyone lives in the auditorium. With you leading the patrol, Zhang Shuming won't have a chance. This was the safest and most appropriate way. Well, I've also thought about this. First, it's already dark. I'm afraid Zhang Shuming will attack us halfway when we're moving. Second, it'll make us seem too afraid of him. We'll be too useless and lose face. And it'll have a bad influence on society. They're all famous people. Director Xing smiled bitterly. Lu Qing estimated the degree of danger, took a deep breath, and said seriously, I'm fine with it. Where should I go? Ku had Aunt Lu and the backup police. If Zhang Shuming really attacked her, he would only die there. You go to Guomin's house. It'll be fine after tonight. Xing Qinggu had already made arrangements. Uncle Xing wants to thank you first. Guomin? Isn't he the big boss of my dad's factory? Lu Cheng was stunned. Chapter 240. Although Lu Jisheng and Qi Fang often complained that Guomin had made a lot of money during the bankruptcy of the original factory, despised that he liked to use his relatives to manage, despised that group of people who didn't know anything and still gave orders every day, but towards Guomin himself, the two of them were very grateful. This was because Guomin valued Lu Jisheng very much and gave him enough trust to let him display his skills without interference in the field of technology. This also allowed Lu Jisheng's father, who had been drifting for several years, to finally have a stable and generous income, which helped the Lu family out of the quagmire and into a well-off life. Okay, where is his home? Lu Qing came to his senses and asked. Lu Jisheng and Qi Fang would go to Guomin's house on holidays, but they always felt that it was not good to bring a child along. Lu Qing was happy and relaxed, and he was too lazy to go to a stranger's house to enjoy the discomfort, so he didn't know where Guomin's house was. Xing Qinggu didn't beat around the bush and said directly, it's too troublesome to talk on the phone, I'll send you a text message. Lu, be careful, protect yourself first. Yes, Uncle Xing. After hanging up the phone, Lu Qing thought for a while and called Yan Jika. He didn't have any experience in security, so of course he had to ask the omniscient Coach Yan. The cheerful ringtone rang for a few seconds before the phone was connected. Lu Qing unconsciously turned the words into concern. Ku, have the police arrived at your house? Yes. Yan Jika's eyebrows and eyes curved. She slightly pursed her lips and lowered her voice. Stupid Cheng, you always worry for nothing. As long as Aunt Lu is here, it doesn't matter whether the police are here or not. Speaking of this, she thought of something and asked subconsciously, how do you know about this? After a pause, she said again, Uncle Xing told you? He won't ask for your help, will he? How can he ask for your help? You're still a student. How can he do this? Listening to the girl's suddenly raised voice, Lu Qing was surprised by her keen observation and deeply felt the strong worry and fear. He hurriedly said, don't worry. With the cooperation of 4 policemen who are good at shooting, as long as I am not killed by him in one shot, it won't be a problem to keep myself alive. Do you think I can't even withstand one shot from a professional 7th pin fighter? Yan Jika pouted and said sullenly, of course I believe in your strength. The gap between professional 7th pin and 8th pin is not as big as that between 8th pin and 9th pin, but it's still very dangerous. If there's danger, you can run by yourself, okay? No, you can't, and you can't leave your back to the enemy. Among the ranks of professions, the 9th to the 8th was a threshold, the 6th to the 5th was a threshold, and the 4th to the 3rd was known as the Dragon Gate, the carp leaping over the Dragon Gate. Listening to the girl's nagging, Lu Qing felt warm in his heart. He smiled and said, "Silly Ku, I have experience. Moreover, with my strength, if he dares to use continuous outbursts to kill me at all costs, then I dare to seize the opportunity to counterattack. I'll take care of myself for you." "Fine." Yenjika sighed. "You're a warrior, so it's inevitable that you'll be in trouble." "Cheng, wait a minute. I'll ask around for you. What do you need to pay attention to? You don't have any experience." "Smart Coach Yen, that's why I'm calling you." Lu Qing complimented him with a smile. "Well, you're smart enough to ask me." Yenjika bit her lips and said, "I have an uncle who works in this field. I'll send you a message later. Take your time, okay?" "Got it. I'll do as you say, Coach Yen." Lu Qing said and hung up the phone. At this time, Director Xing had sent a message with Guo Min's home address and the phone number of the police team contact, Niu Zhen. Lu Qing breathed in and out to adjust his mood. He directly put on the martial arts suit and shoes and planned to go there in this way. This was the most suitable suit for fighting. It was better to be prepared. Before leaving the room, he remembered his master and quickly called him. It was the first time he encountered such a thing, so he was still a little nervous. "Go, you have to experience something like this." Geezer sure yawned and answered casually, "A real martial artist can't grow by just relying on the challenge tournament. There are some scenes and some gains that can't be fully understood without experiencing them. This is the case for my generation, Warrior Sage, Dragon King, and the rest. Your generation will be no exception." Lu Qing was slightly relieved and joked, "Master, aren't you afraid that something bad will happen to me? I'm not your father, why should I worry about you? This is not a high-ranked dance stage, not a fighter with physical invulnerability, but a professional 7th pin fighter who has been running away for so long. You have 4 gunmen with 4 guns. If you can be killed by him, I'll forget about having you as my disciple." Geezer sure mocked, "You can't beat him, but I still think you can protect yourself." "That's it, I have to hurry up and drink. My daughter and son-in-law are coming back." "Hurry up and drink, drink." Lu Qing suddenly felt that his life was worse than a jar of wine. He opened the door and walked into the living room. He said to Lu Jisheng, who was watching TV, "Dad, Qin Roy asked me to practice with him, so I won't be back tonight." This kind of thing couldn't be said directly. He couldn't say that he had to work as a security guard at his boss' house, could he? That would scare his dad. "You're still practicing at this late hour?" Lu Jisheng stood up with the remote control and asked. "The provincial youth tournament is at the end of the month." Lu Qing found a random reason. Lu Jisheng thought for a while and said, "Qing, I heard that some fighters are more indulgent and like to rely on their kung fu to mingle in society. You have to keep a distance from them." "Dad, don't worry, I won't even look at them." Lu Qing smiled and replied. "What I have to do now is much more dangerous than what they have to do." Unlike Qi Feng, Lu Jisheng didn't nag so much. He didn't say more after a few words of advice and watched his son leave. On the way to Guo Min's house in the taxi, Lu Qing received a message from Yan Jika. She gave him a long list of security precautions and lessons. In the end, she emphasized, "Cheng, you have to look very confident and calm. You look like a professional at first glance. In that kind of environment, everyone will be nervous and uncertain. When you can make a decision with confidence and firmly carry it out, they will subconsciously listen to you and won't dare to act rashly. This will save you a lot of trouble, got it?" Lu Qing replied. In the villa of the Guo family, 4 police officers had arrived, 2 men and 2 women. Guo Min and his wife brought their children, as well as their bodyguards and servants. There were 9 people in total. Guamin used to be a fighter and started his business in iron ore. He had made a name for himself in the business world and was doing very well. Now, he was no longer as tough as before. Instead, he was fair and plump like a typical rich man. At this moment, although he had a bodyguard of professional ninth pin, Xia Tong, by his side, he was still nervous. He couldn't help but ask the police officer in front of him, Niu Zhen, Captain Niu, didn't Director Xing say that there would be a master in charge? When will he arrive? As a former fighter, he knew better than his wife, Wan Rongli, and his daughter, Guo Huairou, who helped to manage the business. Niu Zhen, who was transferred from the army, still had the temperament of a soldier. He stood straight and said, Mr. Guo, Director Xing just sent me a message saying that the master will be here soon. That's good, that's good. Guo Min repeated. Dad, it's all your fault. Yesterday, I said that we would go to Gao Fun for a vacation. Guo Huairou complained. She was 27 years old, with a good figure and ordinary facial features, which she compensated with makeup. After graduating from college, she helped her father to manage the family business. She was so busy that she forgot to solve the problem of marriage. In the end, her parents gave birth to a younger brother 2 years ago. She hated him but couldn't do anything about it. Guo Min combed his hair and sighed. I didn't expect Zhang Shuming to come to Shushan. As soon as he finished speaking, the doorbell rang. Everyone was silent and their hearts beat faster. Guo Min was the first to recover. He asked in surprise, Captain Niu, is the master here? Let me see. Niu Zhen turned around and strode to the door. Through the camera and visual screen, he saw a young man in a martial arts suit standing outside. Isn't he too young? Niu Zhen called Lu Qing according to the number sent by Director Xing. After confirming, he opened the door. As soon as the door opened, he took a step back and felt the vigorous qi, blood, and fierce temperament of Lu Qing. What a master! Born in the army, he had seen many martial artists at the peak of the body refining stage. He no longer doubted and reached out with a smile. Hello, I'm Niu Zhen. Director Xing should have mentioned me to you, right? Yes, I'll have to trouble you to cooperate with me tonight. Lu Qing responded politely. At this moment, Wan Rongli screamed, This is the master you were talking about? How old is he? I'm going to call Director Xing. Guo Huairou nodded. She felt that this master was too young and unreliable. Guo Min's martial arts had deteriorated, but his vision was not. He immediately reached out to stop her. Don't talk. He smiled and greeted Lu Qing, who was in a white martial arts suit with black edges. Friend, how should I address you? We're counting on you to take charge of the situation tonight. Chang Jiu, who was at the peak of the body refining stage, plus Xia Tong, for policemen with large caliber pistols, barely enough, of course, Lu Qing wouldn't reveal his name to avoid interfering with his plan. He nodded as a response, then looked around the living room. Mr. Guo, since Director Xing asked me to do this, I'll do my best to ensure your safety. I hope you can cooperate with me. Okay. Guo Min was stunned at first, then nodded vigorously. Lu Cheng's expression turned serious. Tonight, everyone will sleep in the living room. Without permission, you're not allowed to leave the sight of the officers. How can we do that? Guo Huairou blurted out. You're here to protect us, not to torture us. Lu Qing said with a serious expression, Mr. Guo, you should know that climbing the second floor is like child's play for a dance stage expert. We're not as strong as you, so we won't split up to protect you. If you encounter Zhang Shuming in the bedroom on the second floor, even if we can detect it in time, he'll have enough time to kill you several times over. Guo Huairou paused. But we still have to shower, right? One by one, we'll use the bathroom on the first floor. The ladies will shower first, and the 2 female officers will watch from inside. When it's the men's turn, the male officers will follow them. Make sure you're not alone. Lu Cheng's eyes were calm. Actually, I suggest you not to shower all day. Also, when you need to get the blankets and other things, don't rush in like a swarm of bees. Send a representative, protected by the officers and Mr. Guo's bodyguards. He gave out orders one by one, making Guo Min and Guo Huairou feel a sense of professionalism. Unconsciously, they followed his calm and confident attitude without arguing or throwing tantrums. After everything was done, everyone returned to the living room and settled down. Lu Qing looked at the time and said to Niu Zhen, Yang Sha, and the other police officers, "From now on, you'll be divided into 2 groups. You'll rotate every 2 hours. Make sure you have a good rest. This is not an ordinary fugitive. Both physical and mental state are very important. You can't be careless." Okay. Niu Zhen nodded. Since Lu Cheng's arrival, he felt that he had a backbone and everything was in order. Although they were all good at shooting, they were not confident when facing a professional 7th pin expert. If there was no expert who could withstand 1 or 2 hits, they might not be able to hit him with only 4 guns. After listening to Lu Cheng's instructions, everyone looked at him, wondering what he would be responsible for. Lu Cheng walked to a chair and sat down. He closed his eyes and began to sleep. 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 Guo Min and the others opened their mouths wide and felt nervous again. Wasn't this professional and reliable expert a bit unreliable? After a while, they heard Lu Cheng's long breathing and sound sleep as if nothing had happened. The worry and nervousness in their hearts disappeared inexplicably, as if they felt a feeling called peace of mind. That guy might not care about their lives, but he definitely wouldn't joke about his own life. He dared to sleep directly without any vigilance, so he must have confidence and certainty. Everything seemed to be under his control. Influenced by Lu Cheng's calmness, they were less nervous and no longer secretly panicked. Wan Rongli and Guo Huairou even felt sleepy. They curled up on the sofa and fell into a light sleep. In Yan's villa, with professional guidance, they also gathered in the living room. It was easier to protect them by not sleeping separately. In the presence of outsiders, Yan Jika did not wear a nightgown, but directly put on a martial arts suit. She curled up her legs and covered herself with a blanket, lying on the sofa on one side. She was worried about the idiot who was not here, so she could not fall asleep. Logically speaking, with her fearless character, under the premise of Lu Xiaolan's protection and 4 policemen's vigilance in each corner, she should be able to sleep peacefully as usual as if nothing had happened. But now, she held the phone tightly, not only wanting to hear it ring, but also afraid to hear it ring. At around 2:00 in the morning, except for Niu Zhen, Yang Sha, and Guo Min's bodyguard, Xia Tong, who were on duty in Guo's living room, the others were either asleep or drowsy. The surroundings were slow and quiet, and even the sound of insects could be heard. At this moment, Lu Cheng, who was in deep sleep, suddenly felt his heart palpitate. He opened his eyes and felt some kind of evil approaching. In that direction. He suddenly stood up, adjusted his muscles, and was in the most suitable state for fighting in an instant. Then he looked at the left window of the living room and said in a low voice, "He's here. He's here." Niu Zhen and Yang Sha were shocked. Out of professional habit, they instinctively took out their pistols and dodged to the side, not huddling together so that they could cross fire. "He's here." The other 2 policemen who were resting suddenly woke up. Although they were half a beat slower, they still skillfully got off the sofa and occupied a corner, blocking the window with their guns. "He's here." Xia Tong was at a loss at first, but then he was cautious and got into position. "He's here." Guo Min's face turned pale. His hands grasped the blanket tightly, and he unconsciously leaned toward Xia Tong. "He's here." Wan Rongli, Guo Huairou, and the others were awakened by the noise. They were shocked and scared, but they didn't dare to make a sound. They huddled together, holding each other's arms, and shivered. That maniac had really come? What should we do? What should we do? Outside the window of the living room, a black shadow had just approached. He sensed that the originally quiet target had suddenly come to life. The atmosphere was instantly tense, ready to explode at any moment. He immediately felt a tingling sensation on the surface of his body, and understood that it was the absolute reaction of being targeted by a dangerous gun. Shocked, he quietly took a few steps back and faced off in silence. Waves surged. After a few seconds, he realized that the person inside was still on guard. He immediately realized that the other party didn't notice it by accident. The invisible forces collided. The black shadow hesitated for a moment. Seeing that there was no chance, he decisively and quietly retreated from the area. At the same time, he whispered to himself, the supernatural ability of prophecy. In the living room of the Guo family, the inexplicable feeling was gradually fading away and was no longer under his control. But at the last moment, he sensed the departure of the malicious intent. He closed his eyes and entered a meditative state. He tried to imitate the scene of deep sleep to use the sensing ability of the Jindan. But with his spirit and thoughts still intact, he could only faintly use a little. He couldn't use the absolute reaction from a distance like when he was in deep sleep. But no matter what, he was sure that the malicious intent had completely left the area. At this moment, Niu Zhen and the others were staring at the window. The atmosphere was so tense that it was about to snap. At this moment, even if a mouse jumped out, it would probably die without a burial place under their concentrated fire. However, they still couldn't find any trace of Zhang Shuming. In this atmosphere, Lu Qing put away his arrogance and said as if nothing had happened, "He's gone." "He's gone?" Guomin, Niu Zhen, and the others were confused and almost didn't react. Zhang Shuming left before he even showed up. Is this for real? Immediately after, they all had the same thought called anger. Are you King kidding me? You startled everyone for no reason, made everyone aim at the window for a long time and be on guard for a long time, and now you're telling us that nothing's wrong? That lunatic who destroyed the whole family came all the way here and left before he even entered the door? Could it be that he misjudged and overreacted? In the midst of these thoughts, Guo Huairou and the others would have lashed out at him if they didn't consider that Lu Cheng was the backbone of tonight and that the situation would be more dangerous without him. They had no choice but to swallow their anger and go back to their seats. Lu Cheng looked calm and said to Niu Zhen calmly, "Call Director Xing and tell him that Zhang Shuming was here. Ask him to pay attention to the nearby families." But we didn't find anything." Niu Zhen couldn't help but retort. Lu Qing looked at him calmly and said, "Just report it as it is. He will make his own judgment. You don't have to help him make the decision." Niu Zhen thought about it and decided to report it to Director Xing just in case. The other side only replied briefly, "I got it." At this time, they saw Lu Qing sitting down on the ground and sending a few messages before falling asleep again. Sleeping. Guomin and the others were numb and even a little desperate. Yenjika tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep. Everyone thought that she was a timid girl who couldn't sleep because of fear, so they all comforted her. Suddenly, the phone in her hand rang, which almost made her heart stop beating. She hurriedly picked it up and saw that it was from Lu Cheng. "Zhang Shuming was here, but we scared him away. He should be fine now." Phew. Yenjika heaved a long sigh of relief and said with fear and joy, "Are you hurt? Don't be careless. What if he comes back?" "No, he ran away when he found that we were heavily guarded." "Coach Yen, don't worry. I won't be careless. I will be on guard as usual and inform Uncle Xing He. Why are you still awake?" Lu Qing replied. Yenjika pursed her lips and snorted secretly. "I didn't sleep well. I woke up as soon as there was a sound. It's all because of you, idiot." At 5:00 in the morning, Lu Qing woke up again because his phone was vibrating. He took it out and saw that it was from Director Xing. As soon as he picked it up, he heard the undisguised laughter on the other side. "Little Lu, you have a safe night. You've made it through. The task force has arrived. That high-ranked Dan stage expert has caught Zhang Shuming's tail. He can't do anything now. You can go back and have a good rest. See you in court in the afternoon." Okay. Lu Qing heaved a sigh of relief and quickly shared the news with Yenjika. Yenjika was finally relieved. Her eyelids started to fight, but she persisted and replied, "Well, Qing, I'm so sleepy. I'll sleep for a while and train in the afternoon. I slept well. I'll continue training later." Good night, no, good morning," Lu Qing said with a smile. Then he put away his phone and looked around the living room. No longer serious, he smiled and said, "The alarm has been lifted. You can do what you need to do." After he finished speaking, he didn't stay any longer. He took a big step forward, opened the door, and left. After a moment of silence in the living room, Guohuairo couldn't help but complain, "Captain Yo, what kind of expert did you find? Why is he so useless?" "That's right. Why are you so worried?" "I have to tell your bureau chief Xing." Wan Rongli twisted her sore neck. Guomin also smiled and said, "It's okay. We don't have enough manpower." "That's understandable. Just let it pass safely." It wasn't convenient for Nyojin to respond to their complaints, and he hadn't received the next order yet. He could only listen to the Guo family's words with Yang Sha and the others. After a few minutes, he received a notice to open the window in the living room. Open the window in the living room? Nyojin was confused by this strange order. He went to the window and opened it. He found that there were a few unfamiliar men in police uniforms outside. They were carefully inspecting something under the light of the street lamps. "What's wrong?" Nyojin asked in confusion. Guomin, Guohuairo, and the others also squeezed in curiously. The leading unfamiliar policeman was very dignified. He frowned and muttered, "Zhan Shuming has been here for at least a minute, but he didn't do anything." Zhan Shuming has been here for at least a minute? Zhan Shuming was really here. He even stayed for a minute. Nyojin's mouth opened little by little. He looked at Guomin, Guohuairo, and the others in shock, only to find that they were also at a loss and frightened. Hiss. After a short while, gasps sounded one after another. Chapter 241. At this moment, two images flashed through the minds of Guomin, Guohuairo, and the others. The young man in a white martial arts suit with black edges solemnly but calmly shouting, "He's here," at the calm window, and the casual, "He's gone," sentence. "He's here, he's gone." It's actually true. Everyone by the window turned their heads and subconsciously looked at the door. The image of the young man in a white martial arts suit with black edges drifted into their minds. A true master never shows his true colors. Guomin sighed after a long time. Guohuairo also took a deep breath, and the words, "expert style," appeared in her mind. "Captain Yo, do you know the name of that guy?" Guomin asked curiously. Nyojin shook his head with a blank face. "Director Xing only gave me his phone number, the head of the dragon but not the tail." During morning training, Lu Qing took the medicine soup step by step. He practiced the fine inner workings and polished his force. At the end, he borrowed the Jin Dan again to try and understand the feeling of withdrawing. Once again, he gained a different experience from the previous day. Every new day, every new day. After breakfast, he came to the martial arts center. After half an hour in the strength training gym, Lu Qing saw Wu Ting yawning with dark circles under her eyes. "Coach Lu, I was so scared that I couldn't sleep well last night." "You should know that. Can you reduce the amount of training later?" Wu Ting asked pitifully. Lu Qing looked at the other students and smiled. "I know. Reduce the amount of training today by 2/3. When you're free, help me watch them and correct their movements." Teaching and learning were mutually beneficial. Okay. Wu Ting didn't expect that not only would she succeed in her request today, but she would also be assigned the task of little teacher. She was very excited and happy. When the training was about to start, she came back to her senses and asked in confusion, "Coach Lu, you were invited too, right? Why are you still so energetic? The protector must be more tired than the protector." She didn't sleep well last night, but Coach Lu probably didn't sleep at all. I was invited, Lu Qing answered with a smile. But I slept the whole night. You're lying, Coach. Wu Ting laughed in disbelief. Yao Ruiwei, Zhang Qiufan, and the other students looked at them in confusion, unable to understand the content of their conversation. They planned to ask Wu Ting during the break. What happened last night? At 2:00 in the afternoon, Lu Qing left Gushan Martial Arts School after another round of training. He turned to a nearby crossroad and boarded Xing Qinggu's SUV. Lu, yours. Xing Qinggu handed over a bulging envelope. Uncle Xing, what is this? Lu Qing asked in confusion. Xing Qinggu smiled. Don't refuse the reward for last night. It was given by the country, not me. Due to the high level of danger, the reward was considered generous. Lu Qing pinched the thickness of the envelope and estimated that it was about 8,000 to 10,000 yuan. For a top professional 9th pin fighter, the price for a night's security was indeed crazy. But considering that the enemy was a professional 7th pin fighter of the Dan stage, it was reasonable. Why should he be modest when he had risked his life for the money? Lu Qing calmly opened the envelope and took out the bright red banknotes. He took a picture with his phone and sent it to Yenjika, who was training in the afternoon. I'm earning money from the country. Although they couldn't chat in time, he always wanted to share with his girlfriend. Director Xing understood the young people's habit of taking pictures. Without saying anything, he started the car and drove to the courthouse in the east of the city. After driving for a while, he asked casually, Lu, how did you scare Zhang Shuming away last night? He stayed outside the window for at least a minute. Niuzhen didn't say it clearly. Uncle Xing, do you know the ice sex enemy heart freezing move? Lu Cheng was quite mature in dealing with matters. He had long guessed that he would encounter such a question, so he calmly replied with a question. Yes. Xing Qinggu seemed to understand. You've mastered the martial arts derived from it? Lu Qing smiled bitterly. Lu Qing laughed bitterly. I can't say that I've mastered it. I can't use it during a fight. I can only barely use it when I've completely entered meditation. Last night, I used it to vaguely detect Zhang Shuming's approach and notified everyone to prepare in advance. This probably made Zhang Shuming feel that he didn't have a chance, so he retreated on his own. Uncle Xing, please don't tell others about this. Okay, I understand. No wonder Niuzhen said you were sleeping. The younger generation will surpass us in time. Director Xing shook his head and laughed. He changed the topic. Lu, you didn't tell Guomin your name last night? Lu Cheng was stunned for a moment, then suddenly realized. Uncle Xing, you know? He knew Guomin was his father's boss, so he made the necessary arrangements. Professional habit, professional habit. Director Xing laughed. Your master asked me to take care of you. If I don't even know the general situation of your family, how can I take care of you? But you don't seem to be willing to reveal your identity in front of Guomin. I just feel that there's no need to mention it deliberately. It would be awkward. Also, if Boss Gua and the rest knew about this, I wouldn't be able to command them. Lu Qing answered honestly. That's true. Xing Qinggu laughed. Luckily, I only gave Niuzhen your number and didn't mention your identity. I thought you would tell him yourself if you were willing. Lu Cheng was stunned. When he thought about it carefully, he realized how smooth and experienced Director Xing was. No matter how he looked at it, it was flawless. A real veteran. 10 minutes later, Xing Qinggu drove into the courthouse and parked beside the back building where there was no one around. As soon as he got out of the car, he led Lu Qing straight into the building. They went through a special elevator and arrived at the 4th floor. Along the way, he had arranged for no one to wait. Let's go in. There are no outsiders. Xing Qinggu pointed to a room at the end of the corridor. Lu Qing suddenly remembered Wang Su's fate. His heart couldn't help but feel heavy. He sighed subconsciously. Don't worry too much. Honestly, Wang Su won't be sentenced too heavily. Xing Chenggu patted him on the shoulder. Lu Qing nodded slightly. He knocked on the door and waited for a moment before pushing it open. The process of testifying was similar to what he had expected. There were no bystanders, only the necessary judges. Through the guidance of questions, they made him repeat the process from beginning to end. Lu Qing kept in mind that Director Xing had asked him to rush over to stop the crime. As for the rest, he didn't hide anything. After an unknown amount of time, he finally heard the sound of the door opening. When he left the room, the first thing he saw was the bright afternoon sun in July. In the process of silently following Xing Chenggu back to the SUV, Lu Qing glanced at Wang Su's parents who had come for the trial. They looked much older than half a year ago. Although they were about the same age as his parents, they looked like they were almost 60 years old. Sigh. Lu Qing sighed and leaned against the back of the passenger seat. He asked earnestly, "Uncle Xing, can we leave after a while?" "Sure." Xing Chenggu didn't say much. He took out his phone and started to deal with official business. In the blowing of the air conditioner, Lu Cheng's thoughts fluctuated. He couldn't calm down for a long time. Right now, Wang Su was only 1 or 2 walls away from him. However, their fates seemed to have been fixed on today's bright sun and the dim mist of the first day of the new year. This is life. Time ticked by. Xing Chenggu received a call. He smiled and said to Lu Qing, "The sentence is 5 years in court." "That's good." Lu Qing heaved a sigh of relief. "I'll find someone to watch him in prison. If he behaves well, he should be out in 3 years. He'll be only 22 or 23 years old then. There's still a lot to be done." Xing Chenggu started the car. "Thank you, Uncle Xing." Lu Qing thanked him sincerely. Xing Chenggu laughed and said, "What are you thanking me for? It's almost dinner time. Come to my house. I didn't treat you last time." "Okay." Lu Qing didn't refuse, nor did he mention Xing Jingjing. He just called his father and told him that he would be back after dinner. "Don't touch the pot that doesn't boil." Xing Chenggu had already arranged everything. After the call, he went straight to South Zhuangyuan Street. When he led Lu Qing into the house, the food was almost ready. "Mom, they're here. Dinner is ready." The tall Xing Jingjing tied up her hair and shouted to the kitchen. Lu Qing changed his shoes and politely said, "Hello, senior sister." At the same time, Xing Chenggu placed his majestic body between the two of them, trying to ease his daughter's emotions as much as possible. Xing Jingjing looked at Lu Qing and didn't feel as impatient and uneasy as last time. She just said coldly, "Ku has mentioned you to me." That's good, that's good." Lu Qing didn't know what he was saying. Is this the preferential treatment of a best friend's boyfriend? Seeing that his daughter didn't have a big reaction, Xing Chenggu secretly felt relieved and hurriedly asked her to help serve the dishes. It was not that he didn't want to do something, but he felt that if he left his daughter alone with Lu Qing, the harmonious and stable atmosphere would explode. Not long after, dinner started. Director Xing's wife, Auntie Ding, was very warm to Lu Qing. She asked him all kinds of questions and praised him. Xing Jingjing ate quietly. When the atmosphere was at its warmest, she said faintly, "He has a girlfriend." "How do you know?" Auntie Ding was stunned at first and then asked in confusion. "When did this girl become so close to Lu?" Lu Qing was startled. He was afraid that this girl would be unhappy and reveal the matter between him and Ku. Xing Jingjing said with a straight face, "Ku said so." Lu Cheng's heart suddenly jumped. Then he heard Xing Jingjing add, "They are classmates." "I see." Xing Chenggu and Auntie Ding didn't know whether to feel relieved or disappointed. At this moment, the doorbell rang and the sound echoed in the room. "Who is it?" Xing Chenggu was used to unexpected visits. He shook his head and walked to the door. Lu Qing subconsciously looked over. When the door opened, he saw 2 familiar figures. His father's childhood friend, Zhao Zijuan, whom he had met a few days ago, and his wife, Huang Kun. He was the deputy director of the police station. It was normal for him to visit Uncle Xing. Lu Cheng looked back thoughtfully. Zhao Zijuan looked inside and said with a smile, "What a coincidence." "Director Xing, are you eating?" "What do you mean by coincidence?" "Old Zhao, let's eat together." Director Xing greeted them warmly. Zhao Zijuan's eyes swept across the table. Just as he was about to speak, his pupils suddenly constricted as a certain figure was reflected in his eyes. He almost forgot what he was going to say. Only when his wife, Huang Kun, pulled him did he wake up. He smiled and said, "No need, no need. We have already eaten. I just thought that it has been a long time since I came to visit you, old leader. Just sit for a while and leave." It's good that you didn't forget your old leader." Xing Chengwu wanted to lead them to the sofa and sit down, but he saw Zhao Zijuan carrying something. He said with a straight face, "Old Zhao, what do you mean by this?" I. Director Xing was so intimidating that Zhao Zijuan didn't know what to say. Xing Chengwu's expression softened. "Old Zhao, take these things back. I know about your situation. You're my old subordinate. I'll definitely fight for you." Yes, Director Xing, Zhao Zijuan and Huang Kun didn't dare to stay for long. They immediately left. Xing Chengwu didn't ask them to stay. He watched them leave and then returned to the table. He smiled bitterly. The director of Flying Cloud Road has retired. Old Zhao has some ideas. When I was at the branch, he followed me for a few years. He's quite capable. Why wouldn't I consider him? Lu Qing smiled and didn't say anything. After leaving Director Xing's house, Huang Kun looked at the things in her hands and asked nervously, "Old Zhao, that's it?" "Yes, Director Xing always keeps his word. Since he said so, he'll definitely do it." Zhao Zijuan thought about the figure he just saw. He frowned and asked, "Did you see the person who was eating with Director Xing's family?" "I didn't dare to look carefully." Huang Kun shook her head. Zhao Zijuan took a breath. It should be Lu Jisheng's son. Why was he at Director Xing's house? And at this kind of family dinner? Chapter 242. Him. Huang Kun opened her eyes wide. This was a relationship that couldn't be connected at all. Zhao Zijuan was still frowning. Yes, I'm not wrong. Their relationship must be special if they can attend this kind of family dinner. Lu Jisheng knows how to set up an ambush? What are you talking about? You don't have to have a close relationship with Director Xing's family. Didn't we eat together before? What if he's Jingjing's classmate? Huang Kun guessed. That makes sense. Zhao Zijuan stepped into the elevator and said after a moment of silence, "But the more I think about it, the more I feel that Lu Jisheng's son is very spirited. I'll look into his information tomorrow." When he returned home at night, the mysterious master and boss Guo's mind accepted the education obediently. Qi Fang nagged, "Look at you. It's only been a few days and you still don't come home to sleep or eat." After 5 minutes, Lu Qing found a chance to interrupt. "Mom, here's the thing. Didn't I become the disciple of the martial arts club's coach? He has a friend in Shoshan who has been taking care of me. How can I refuse when an elder invites me to dinner?" Since Gizershur officially recognized him as a disciple, he had briefly mentioned it to his parents. He didn't tell them his master's strength but only said that he was very powerful. "Really?" Qi Fang was doubtful. "Why would I lie to you? Why don't I give you his number and you can call him yourself?" Lu Qing answered frankly. But in his heart, he complained that if his mom really wanted his number, he would tell her it was 1108 and ask for Director Xing. Well, Qing is a grown-up. It's normal for him to have his own connections. Why do you ask so much? Lu Jisheng stopped Qi Fang from asking. Qi Fang glared at him. What's wrong with me caring about my son? I don't need you to teach me. You don't care about anything. You don't ask about anything. You only care about eating and playing chess. Seeing that the fire had turned to his dad, Lu Qing spread out his hands and put on a helpless expression. He quietly slipped back to his room. In the next 2 days, he went to Ningxue and spent 2 days with his grandparents in the countryside, showing off all kinds of fruit trees to Yan Jika. On Monday, he went to work on time and guided the training of Wu Ting, Zhang Chufan, and the other students. He also promised to leave some time for actual combat practice on Wednesday. On Tuesday morning, the day before Empress Dowager returned from a business trip, Lu Qing finally got the chance to train with his girlfriend after Zhang Shuming was shot dead in the border mountains. The two of them were in a secluded corner of Backwater Lake Park. As usual, most of the time, they were serious and focused. Occasionally, their eyes would meet, sweet and warm. Under such circumstances, Lu Qing would always think of the beautiful future he had hoped for. The more he trained, the more his force penetrated. He didn't try to withdraw in front of Yan Jika. He wanted to surprise her only when he could do it without the help of the Jindan. Otherwise, he would feel guilty and fake. In the blink of an eye, it was almost 8 o'clock. Yan Jika put away her posture and panted, showing her dimples. "Cheng, what are we going to eat for breakfast?" She was in high spirits and full of anticipation. Lu Cheng had already made plans. He smiled and said, "Let's go to the cloud water realm you mentioned before." "Okay, I'll take you there." Yan Jika smiled sweetly. Lu Cheng seized the opportunity and asked, "Ku, your parents are not at home. Is there anyone at home?" "No, my mom doesn't like outsiders at home. The cook and cleaning ants come at 11 o'clock and leave before dinner." Yan Jika looked up and spat. "Why do you ask? What do you want to do? You said you would show me your childhood photos. It's a rare opportunity." Lu Qing answered with a smile. Yan Jika rolled her eyes and snorted. "You haven't shown me your photos yet. You can show me mine at any time. My parents have regular working hours, unlike Empress Dowager." Lu Qing tried to bewitch the girl. Yan Jika puffed up her cheeks and glanced at her boyfriend. "Okay, then let's go to my house after Cloud Water Realm." In fact, she also wanted to share her childhood photos with Lu Cheng. She wanted to hear him praise her childhood. Lu Cheng was excited and told her his plan. "I'll take a shower at home and change my clothes, that's troublesome." Yan Jika pursed her lips and thought for a while. "How about you come to my house?" "But I don't have a change of clothes." Lu Cheng asked eagerly. Yan Jika chuckled. "Stupid. You can wear my dad's old pajamas first. I'll put your martial arts suit in the washing machine. It'll be dry before noon. As for the surveillance camera at home, she would delete it after Cheng left." "Okay." Lu Cheng didn't stand on ceremony at all and agreed decisively. After that, he came up with a new idea. He asked with a smile, "Ku, do you have cold rice and eggs at home?" "I think so. Auntie will clean them up at noon." Yan Jika answered with uncertainty. Lu Ching suggested, "How about we don't go to Cloud Water Realm? I'll make egg fried rice for you. You know how to make it?" Yan Jika asked with surprise and suspicion. "Don't make some dark cuisine." "Of course. I only know how to make egg fried rice and noodles. I'm good at it." Lu Ching waved his arm deliberately. Yan Jika bit her lips and said with bright eyes, "Then I'll look forward to it." Hee, egg fried rice made by Cheng with love. After that, they jogged back to the villa area. Lu Cheng looked at the entrance control and the security guards and observed the surrounding walls. He said seriously, "I'll find a blind spot and climb over it." If he and Ku went through the entrance control together, his father-in-law would know at night. And such a wall couldn't stop him at all. Yan Jika blinked her long eyelashes and looked at Lu Ching blankly. She didn't seem to understand why he did that. After a few seconds, the girl came to her senses and burst into laughter. "Oh, Cheng, you're so funny. Huh, my stomach hurts. Huh, you want to climb over the wall? What's wrong with that?" Lu Cheng was confused. Yenjika managed to hold back her laughter and scolded him with her eyes full of tears. "What a joke. Idiot Cheng." After that, she took out the key ring with the access card and handed it to Lu Cheng. "Here you go." "What about you?" Lu Cheng asked in surprise. Yenjika pursed her lips and answered seriously, "Swipe my face." She asked Lu Cheng to wait on the other side of the road and walk to the security booth with light steps. She smiled shyly and said, "Can you open the door for me? I forgot to bring the access card." The security guard had a deep impression of this beautiful girl and knew that she was indeed a resident of the community. When he saw her smile like a blooming flower, he was even more convinced. He quickly answered, "Okay, no problem. I'll open it right away." "Thank you." Yenjika smiled sweetly and secretly made a face to Lu Cheng. "Idiot Cheng." After she went in and sent a message, Lu Cheng took the access card and calmly walked to the gate of the community. He swiped the card and slowly passed through. The security guard did feel that he was a stranger, but it was not strange that the residents of the community often had relatives or friends who stayed temporarily. Following Yenjika's instructions, he turned around and came to a villa. The girl was sitting on the swing in the front garden and looking at him with a smile. "My dad made this when we first moved in." Yenjika proudly introduced it. Lu Cheng clicked his tongue. "Father-in-law knows carpentry?" "Of course, my dad is awesome." Yenjika was used to Lu Cheng calling her father-in-law and mother-in-law shamelessly. Instead of being annoyed, she felt sweet. Lu Cheng looked around and said worriedly, "The security of your community is very ordinary. The entrance is very loose. I can't believe I got in so easily. It doesn't look like a rich community. My mom always says that. She always suggests that we ask my uncle's security company to do it. But you know, many people are too lazy to do it. But with Zhang Shuming's case, I think this matter will be passed soon. At that time, it will be difficult for some idiot to sneak in." Yenjika said with a gloating smile. She led her boyfriend to the front of the house, unlocked her fingerprint, opened the door and found a pair of slippers for Lu Cheng. After putting on the slippers, Lu Cheng suddenly had an idea and picked up his martial arts shoes. "What are you going to do with them?" Yenjika closed the door and asked confusedly. Lu Cheng laughed. "I put them in the room. If I put them here, your parents will be exposed when they come back." "You're right." Yenjika nodded and suddenly understood. Then she looked at Lu Cheng with a faint smile. "Cheng, you seem to be very experienced. Tell me, did you go to other girls' houses often before?" "It's not me. It's Talker. I learned from his mistakes." Lu Cheng quickly explained. "You're also an experienced person in the future." Yenjika raised her arm and said, seriously. While walking from the living room to the stairs, Lu Cheng deeply felt the difference between the Yen family and his own family. It was impossible to say that he didn't feel inferior. Fortunately, he was in a high-spirited stage and felt that no matter what the difference was, he could make up for it, so he didn't feel depressed. When he came to the second floor and entered the girls' boudoir, he saw pink, white, and all kinds of dolls. Big ones, small ones, cute ones, and weird ones. Yenjika took a step forward and rushed to the bedside. Blushing, she picked up the clothes and sundries scattered on the carpet and stuffed them into one of the wardrobes. Lu Cheng breathed in the familiar fragrance in the room and said with a smile, "I thought it would be very tidy." Of course, it was much tidier than his own room. Humph, who tidies every day? Yenjika slightly raised her head and looked to the side. At this moment, as the door closed, the atmosphere in the girls' boudoir became quiet and suddenly there was an indescribable ambiguity. This was a real private space where no one would disturb. Yenjika's long black eyelashes trembled a few times. Like a flustered little white rabbit, she took out several photo albums from the bookshelf and didn't dare to look directly at Lu Qing. She said, I'm going to take a shower first. You can look at the photos yourself. Lu Qing resisted the impulse and nodded with a smile. Okay. Hearing his answer, Yenjika turned her head and looked into his eyes. Her eyes became clear and soft again. Except for my dad, you're the first man to enter this room. So, I feel a little uncomfortable. It's not that I don't trust you, I understand. Lu Qing smiled like a flower. His achievement of entering Ku's boudoir was achieved. Yenjika took out a change of clothes and went into the bathroom. Lu Qing took a few deep breaths and focused on the photo album to prevent himself from thinking too much and being impulsive. This part of the album was of the girl between 3 and 7 years old. She was dressed more westernly than her peers, with a little baby fat, pretty and cute. But it could be seen that she was always in a bad mood. In many photos, she looked quiet and gloomy. But even so, when she was not affected by the illness, she still tried to smile brightly and enjoy life. She was not afraid of death and was optimistic about life. Lu Qing took out his phone and took dozens of photos that were so cute that he couldn't take them anymore. Some of them were in princess dresses with straight bangs, some were in ponytails swaying, and some were staring at him innocently with wide eyes. At this moment, Yenjika came out of the shower and changed into a half-sleeved nightgown. Her body was steaming and fragrant. It's your turn. Seeing Lu Qing's eyes that looked like he was going to pounce on her, she turned her body and shyly said, Go take a shower first. It's so dirty. First. Lu Qing was delighted and nodded hard. Okay. Yenjika didn't realize that there was something wrong with her choice of words. She said to herself, Wrap yourself in a bath towel first. I'll find you my dad's old pajamas. He's taller than you, but it's almost the same. Okay. Lu Qing walked into the bathroom. When he finished the shower, put on his boxers and came out wrapped in a bath towel, Yenjika happened to come in with a set of pajamas. Seeing Lu Qing's 2 hairy legs, bare shoulders, and skin exposed by the bath towel, she giggled and said with a flirtatious look in her eyes, Come on, give me a smile. Qing now looks like he's been touched by me. Sure. Lu Qing chuckled. Taking advantage of the situation, he pounced on the girl and hugged her. Yenjika hurriedly supported her arms and looked to the side. First eat. First. Lu Qing kissed her and pulled away with great perseverance. He smiled and said, It's time for you to see my ancestral skill of egg fried rice. I always feel like you're bragging. Yenjika touched the place where she was kissed and pretended to be disdainful. When she came out of the room with 2 sets of martial arts suits, Lu Qing quickly changed into his pajamas and went downstairs to the kitchen. He found the fridge and took out the cold rice and eggs. The sound of the washing machine was heard. Yenjika came back and watched Lu Qing skillfully beating and stirring the eggs with great interest. Her eyes sparkled a little bit. She didn't watch but walked over with a sense of participation. She focused on how to use the kitchen. In the end, she said eagerly, Qing, how about I mix 3 shreds? I remember there are still ingredients left from last night. You cook, I mix. You know how to mix? Lu Qing was surprised and happy. Yenjika pursed her lips and nodded seriously. No. But aren't there so many recipes on the internet? I'm not stupid. Can't I follow them? Lu Qing was a little nervous. Then you can try, okay. Yenjika took out her phone and searched for recipes. She frowned and said, How do you judge 5 grams and 3 grams? Feel it. Lu Qing answered honestly. No, it's too unreliable. Yenjika knitted her beautiful eyebrows and looked up. Suddenly, she cheered and said happily, I'm so stupid. I can use tools. She turned and left the kitchen and went upstairs. Tools? Lu Qing said to himself in confusion. What tools? Weighing tools in the kitchen? After waiting for more than a minute, the girl rushed back with an object. Lu Qing looked at it and found it was the children's version of the experimental balance. When I was a child, I liked chemistry very much. My dad gave me this. Yenjika showed her dimples and smiled sweetly. Then she carefully wiped the balance and weights and started to weigh accurately with the help of a bowl and spoon. Lu Cheng was stunned. After a while, he held back his laughter and said, "You're so strict." Of course. Yenjika was not modest at all. Not long after, the smell of the egg-fried rice floated in the kitchen and made the girl's nose twitch. She clapped her hands and said, "I'm done. You try it." "Why me?" Lu Cheng complained. He turned off the fire and divided the egg-fried rice into 2 portions. Then he picked up the chopsticks and picked up a few pieces. "Not bad," he praised with all his strength. "Although it's just average, at least it's edible, right?" Yenjika beamed with joy and proudly placed the cold dish on the table. Lu Cheng followed closely behind her and brought the egg-fried rice and chopsticks to the table. "Well, it's delicious. I admit that you're a master of egg-fried rice." The girl ate a mouthful of rice and said happily and sweetly. Lu Cheng was about to say something when he suddenly heard the sound of a fingerprint unlocking the door. Yenjika sat up straight and looked over in horror. Thoughts flashed through Lu Cheng's mind as scenes after scenes flashed through his mind. Is it my father-in-law who came home? He looked at the pajamas he was wearing and thought to himself, I'm not going anywhere. If I said that I just came to take a shower, cook a meal and dry my clothes without doing anything bad, Uncle Yen, would you believe me? Chapter 243. I think most of them won't believe it. Lu Cheng was sure that no father would believe his explanation in such a setting and wearing such clothes. Therefore, while he was thinking, he had already picked up the bowl and chopsticks. With a flick of his waist and a smooth burst of strength, he left his seat and dashed into the kitchen. Fortunately, Ka's kitchen was not an open type. Although Yenjika was frightened, she also stood up and rushed to the door, trying to attract attention and buy time for Lu Cheng to hide. During this process, they didn't communicate, but they were so tacit and so similar. They were both calm in the face of danger, good at making decisions, and not resigned to their fate. Yenjika stepped forward lightly and agilely. In just a few seconds, she was at the other end of the living room. At this moment, the door was completely opened. A tall, thin, middle-aged man walked in, carrying a bag of food. He smiled at his daughter who was bouncing towards him. Have you had breakfast? I just passed by Qingyuan Street and thought that you like to eat steamed buns, so I brought some back for you. Dad really came back at the last minute. Yenjika's heart was beating fast. She didn't dare to look back to see how Lu Cheng was hiding. She stepped forward and held Yen Kai's arm, smiling sweetly. Dad, you always surprise me. You are a model father. This time it was a shock. In the kitchen, Lu Cheng hid in the corner beside the refrigerator, listening to the conversation, controlling his heartbeat and carefully muting his phone. It really is my father-in-law. He glanced at the kitchen knives and had a feeling that they would cut his body at any moment. Yen Kai was in his 40s. His eyes were clear, and his nose was high. He was a very handsome man. His youthful appearance had been preserved to this day, which added a bit of elegance to him. Time had not worn away his appearance, but instead made him more charming. Every time Yenjika saw her dad, she would feel that Empress Dowager was definitely a beauty lover. Fortunately, she had been tested by her dad and cousins' beauty when she was young, so she was immune to it. Otherwise, she might have missed the stupid Cheng. Yen Kai patted his daughter's hand and laughed. You are not growing up. You are still so spoiled. At this point, he sniffled and asked in confusion, it smells pretty good. Egg-fried rice? Lu Cheng's back suddenly tensed up, and his heart seemed to skip a beat. Yenjika's mind went blank for a second. She looked up and came up with an idea. Dad, let me show you something. She generously pulled her father to the dining table, secretly rejoicing that her father's kung fu was only at the amateur level and did not know the listening skill. Otherwise, her heartbeat would have exposed everything. With a smile on his face, Yan Kai followed his daughter to the dining room and saw the bowl of egg fried rice and salad. While he was guessing with great interest, Yenjika pointed at the table, raised her head slightly, and said proudly, "I did it. Yes, I made the coleslaw." "You did it?" Yan Kai looked at his daughter in surprise. He didn't expect that his precious little princess, who usually didn't do any household chores, was secretly learning how to cook. He smiled in relief. "Are you planning to give us a surprise?" Hee hee. Yenjika smiled but didn't say anything. She didn't want to lie to her father. "For the first time in my life, I have to taste my daughter's cooking." Yan Kai smiled and walked to the kitchen to get another set of chopsticks. Hearing his footsteps approaching, Lu Cheng's mind went blank. He seemed to see himself full of kitchen knives. He looked around, urgently thinking about where to hide. In the cupboard? But I don't know the bone shrinking skill. On the ceiling? But I don't know the gecko wall climbing skill. If I force it, I'll leave scratches. Lu Cheng couldn't help but feel that his current fighting style wasn't adaptable enough. Yenjika was also startled, but she was still calm. She pulled her father and said, "Sit down. Sit down. I'll get it for you." Okay. I'll enjoy it this time." Yan Kai was very happy. He sat at the dining table and smilingly watched his daughter go into the kitchen. This girl is getting better at taking care of people. Yenjika's back was to her father. She glanced around and saw Lu Cheng squatting beside the refrigerator, holding a bowl in his left hand and a pair of chopsticks in his right. It was very funny. She pursed her lips tightly, trying to hold back her smile. She nodded slightly at her boyfriend, then squatted down, opened the drawer, took out a set of bowls and chopsticks, washed them, then turned around and walked out. Lu Cheng didn't even dare to breathe. He only relaxed a little. He felt like a thief who was trapped in the house by the owner. Well, a thief who stole someone's precious daughter. This seemed to be more abominable than the former. Yenjika went back to the dining table, took some egg fried rice from her bowl and gave it to her father. Then she stared at him and said, "Try this dish first. I spent a lot of effort on it." Yan Kai laughed, picked up his chopsticks, and picked up a few pieces. After tasting them carefully, he said, "It's okay. It'll be better after you get familiar with it. It doesn't seem like your first time." "Yes, it's my first time." Yenjika would be very happy to be praised by her father in normal times. But now she was very nervous. She was still thinking about the person in the kitchen. She wanted to smile but felt stiff. So she turned around and ran into the kitchen. She took out the children's balance and said as if she was presenting a treasure, "I've measured it accurately." Yan Kai was stunned for a while before he reacted. He shook his head affectionately. "I believe it's your first time." "This is really my baby girl's style." Yenjika smiled and said with her eyes curved, "I'll definitely do better on your birthday." Yan Kai was comforted. He couldn't stop smiling and ate another mouthful of egg fried rice. After a while, he said softly, "This is good. It's very good. It's very delicious." "Is this your first time?" "It's better than your mother's." He paused and said with a smile, "Don't tell your mother that I said this before." "Don't worry. We're on the same side." Yenjika smiled sweetly and then answered honestly, "It's not my first time. It's indeed not the first time. It's the 0th time, clever Yenjika." Lu Cheng was stunned in the kitchen. "But my egg fried rice has been recognized by my father-in-law. Does this count as a successful step? If you want to marry a girl, you must first conquer her father's stomach." Before Yan Kai said anything, the girl added, "I don't even know how I did it today. I may not be able to make it so delicious in the future." "Dad, you can't dislike it. She was telling the truth. She really didn't know how Lu Qing did it. She was also preparing herself for the future. All newbies are like this. Your father was like this when he was young. Yan Kai smiled contentedly. He ate a few mouthfuls of egg fried rice and salad for a long time, savoring the aftertaste. Yan Jika, on the other hand, was eating nervously and tastelessly beside him. Yan Kai put down his chopsticks and looked at his watch. I have to go back to the hospital. Your mother will come back tomorrow. Let's go on a short trip around the city. Okay. Yan Jika didn't know if she was happy because of the family trip or because her father was finally going to work. She followed behind Yan Kai and walked him to the door. She watched him walk out and waved at him. After closing the door, she relaxed and her legs were a little weak. It wasn't that she didn't dare to face her father for Lu Qing, but she felt that their relationship was developing smoothly, sweet and beautiful, and they seemed to have a bright future ahead of them. There was no need to complicate things, which could easily lead to unbearable changes, such as the attitude of her father and the attitude of her grandparents. Walking back to the dining table, she was surprised to find that her boyfriend hadn't come out yet. She went into the kitchen and saw Lu Qing leaning against the fridge, wiping cold sweat. He wouldn't sweat so much even if he fought in a challenge tournament. He was scared because of her father. Yan Jika felt sweet and smiled. Why are you still here? Do you like the kitchen? I'm afraid that your father will come back. Lu Qing pretended to be mature. Let's wait for another 10 minutes. Yan Jika smiled and said, Is this also Kai Zhongming's experience? No, it's habitual caution. Lu Qing returned to normal and made a self-deprecating remark. Fortunately, he put the martial arts shoes in Ku's room. Otherwise, his father-in-law would have caught us in the act just now. Little Ming, you didn't die in vain. Yan Jika couldn't help but laugh. Then she sighed with mixed feelings, I'm sorry. It's not good to be so sneaky. Not only did I cheat my father, but I also wronged you. It made her feel guilty and sad. Lu Qing calmed down and solemnly promised, in the future, I'll come here openly. And to do that, stepping into the dance stage was the most basic thing. It wasn't that he couldn't marry Ku if he didn't reach the dance stage. Wasn't his father-in-law just an amateur fighter? But as a man, he had to work hard and try his best to overcome difficulties so that the girl wouldn't feel embarrassed. At this moment, he was determined to fight for the martial arts and the dance stage. Do your best. Yan Jika's eyes rippled as she said in a low voice. Then, she nodded seriously and said, But now, the most important thing is another matter. What? Lu Qing was a little confused. Yan Jika smiled and showed her dimples. Teach me how to make egg fried rice. I want to give my father and Empress Dowager a surprise. You're right. Lu Qing realized. In the following time, the two of them relaxed and ate the egg fried rice, cold dish and steamed buns sweetly. Then Lu Qing steamed a new pot of rice and taught Yan Jika step by step. Again and again, they rubbed each other's ears, touched each other's heads, and kissed each other passionately. To be honest, Lu Qing really wanted to go further in this completely private space. But considering that the girl had just experienced the shock of her father's return and was not in a stable mood, he forced himself to hold back. Unknowingly, it was 11 o'clock. Yan Jika was barely satisfied with her new egg fried rice. Alas, I only saw a few photos. Lu Qing said with some regret. Auntie is coming, I should go. Yan Jika thought about how she was so focused on making out that the egg fried rice burned several times. She said with a reddish face, It's not like I can't come here in the future. At that time, she could hide in the room and not come out to cook. Even if her father and Empress Dowager suddenly came home, she wouldn't be discovered. I'm looking forward to it. Lu Qing imitated his girlfriend's tone and answered. After reluctantly parting, Lu Qing looked at the towering buildings in the villa area. Facing the sun in the sky, he stepped forward. There was an urgent and clear goal in his heart. That was to enter the dance stage. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.